Because that's his job. It's the coach's job.
It's the player's job. They put the guys out there.
It's the coach's
they played
job
the
to
top
put them
minutes.
in the best situation that they can to
I
win.
do not subscribe to that.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Weekdays from 11 to 2 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Tonight,
A big stop by UC Saros.
your Nashville Predators take on the New Jersey Devils. Coverage begins at 6 on your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Pegram, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mace.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willie Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe in for Caroline Fenton today alongside the great Derek Mason. Willie Donick will be along in a little bit as the Predators do their morning skate thing as they'll take on the New Jersey Devils later on tonight with coverage beginning at 6 o'clock. I had Derek laughing during the break because basically we've just continued what we were just doing, just a different show name now. But there was our article on NFL.com, and the headline reads as such: Eagles wide receiver A.J. Brown wants the ball but isn't a diva. Quote, I'll never be that guy.
I don't listen. It's okay to want the football, AJ. You deserve the football. You've shown that you are a playmaker in this league. You're an explosive guy. You are a game changer. And if you want the football, you want the football. The only reason people are asking, AJ, is because your demeanor on the sideline when you were sitting there. That's the only reason people approach you with the question. It wasn't that. I think you had 3 catches, for 30 yards somewhere around there. But people wouldn't have known you were upset unless they saw you upset. You won the game. I've been there before. I get it. You want to be a part of the game. You want to affect the game in a good way.
We've heard stories about you.
Yeah,
coaches have
exactly.
said that.
But I'm not. It's the game's over with and you move on. Especially if you win, it's like okay.
Yeah.
I move. Hey, listen, I ain't get the ball. If it becomes a trend, then okay. If it was a one-game thing, the way it seemed like it was, it's not like they didn't try to get him the football. They tried, but the New York Giants took it away.
Yeah.
And Devontae Smith was able to get more catches. And there have been some games where Devontae Smith didn't get but 1 or 2 catches, and you got 5 or 6 over 100 yards. I'm sure Devontae didn't sit on the sideline and make it be known through his body language because, he looks at you probably as, like the big brother in the room, considering even though you two guys are like maybe a year or 2 apart. But he looks at you as the older veteran guy. But nobody would have asked these questions. Again, nobody would have asked these questions if they didn't see, the interaction between you and the coach in your face toward the end of the game or some parts of the game. Had they not seen that, had you not shown that to them, then there's no questions we can ask.
Right.
So, man, be a diva if you want to. You know why? Because listen, what I know in this league is that, if you don't go out, if you don't play the way you're capable of playing, you're not going to get the ball. But if for some reason, they're not getting you the ball or, more than one game and it's sort of, where do I fit in? If you don't say anything, won't nobody know.
Right.
So that's not being a diva. That's wanting to be a part of what's going on. That's wanting to impact the game in a way that you feel you can do. That's not being a diva. That's just like saying, here, y'all paying me $20 million. Come on, let me be a part of this, Do something. Get me the ball somehow, some way. And Philadelphia will this game, I'm pretty sure.
He says, quote, they throw the ball to me 100 times. I'm going to want it 101 times. Me personally, I just feel like I can change the game at any moment. Getting the ball often keeps you going, keeps you in rhythm. It definitely puts you in the zone. You're locked in. Of course, I want the ball, end quote. And then he says later, I'm never the receiver that's going to go on the sideline or try to cause problems on the sideline. I'm not that guy. I think that's what you could describe as a diva, but I'm not that person.
Not many receivers go on the sideline and start. And we don't know if he does or not. But it's sort of like it's what do they call it? It's just because you're not screaming and yelling, doesn't mean you're not making people aware that you're disgruntled. You're sitting on the sideline. Usually you're talking to everybody, laughing it up with people on the sideline. You're sitting on the sideline with your arms folded and your face stoic, and you're mad. Well, people know. You don't have to scream and yell, AJ. People know you're upset,
Right.
You don't have to yell at everybody. That's probably even worse that you sit here and don't want to talk to anybody and you're on your own zone. That's worse than getting up and going to your quarterback, and you don't have to yell. Going to your quarterback and say, hey, I think I can beat or going to the offensive coordinator, hey, I can get open.
Right.
Get me the ball.
But you've done that.
Oh, of course I've done that.
I remember Jeff Fisher coming in the studio telling the story. I think it was the Giants y'all beat? And Steve throws it to Drew, and you're like standing there wide open, and you're mad that you didn't get
because it's like, as a receiver, because it's like you're wide open. And it's like, if you are the number one in the progression, you're like,
right.
Hey. But sometimes the quarterback don't see you. But you don't hold. You say it right then and there. You get it over with, and then you go about your business.
You're like, Mac, hey, what's up?
And then you go about your business.
This is what I'll say, and this is where I think it's a good thing, because you were like this, and AJ's like this. That we may say diva, but to me that's dog. That's having dog in you. That's that dog on a bone mentality, like you talk about. That, hey, give me the damn ball. I'll do something with it. And the thing with AJ Brown is he's not just a catch it and drop to the ground. He's a catch it and the yards after catch guy. And that's what we saw here. That's what we've seen in Philadelphia. And so I think, and we've talked a lot about AJ, and AJ did have some diva qualities, especially when he's on Twitter, and then he would delete it. And I think that kind of led to
He is a diva, man.
He's a diva.
But there's nothing wrong with it.
But he backs it up.
Exactly.
That's the thing.
He's a diva that backs it up. If you get him, if he says, get me the football, damn it, get him the football.
Right.
Because he will back it up. Ain't nothing wrong with it being a diva. Just go about your business. But when you're being a diva, you got to be able to back it up, which AJ can.
You got to back it up, and you can't cause distraction.
Exactly.
And like Antonio Brown was a diva, and he caused distraction.
They got him out of there.
Then he's out of there. The thing with AJ is I think they were afraid here that it was going that direction, and then they didn't want to pay him, and so they got him out of here. But I think that for any player at any position, you can have a little bit of a diva mentality, cocky mentality, however you want to put it. You just got to back it up.
Yeah, I mean, listen, we all do it. Quarterbacks do it. Offensive line do it. When you start passing too much, offensive line's like, listen, let's run the darn ball, okay? Come on. I know how to run block. Let's run block. I want to get dirty, and I want to get, sweat. I want to push on somebody. Let's run the football. So we all do it at some point. Quarterbacks do it. Running backs do it. I mean, heck, the running back for the J.K. Dobbins did it for Baltimore, and he was absolutely right. Like, if you give me the ball, I'm productive. Give me a shot. That's not being a diva. That's saying, hey, listen, hey, I'm a playmaker. Let me make plays.
I mean, you think Joe Burrow's got a little diva in him?
Oh, man. People use the word as, I think sometimes people use it as negative.
Yeah.
And it's not negative, because I've never seen a top flight wide receiver, a wide receiver with dog in him, that may not get the ball one or two games, that just sits around and walk around as if everything's okay. I don't want him on my team. I don't. If you're not a part of what's going on, let me know, because there are so many things that are happening in the game. Sometimes you lose sight of every person and what's going on the field. If you feel you're not involved, come and let me know, and then we'll get you involved. I can't be paying attention to everybody. So having, diva in you, it's not a bad thing. Don't make somebody make you feel. Don't let someone make you feel as if being a diva in this sport is a bad thing. No, it's not, especially if you can back it up like AJ can.
Interesting little thing I just saw. I guess this came out last night from Pete Thamel, but Jonathan Krause, who was a receiver at Vanderbilt at one time, is going to be the new wide receivers coach at San Diego State. So good for him. It's cool. I think it's okay. It's part of personality. You got to keep it in check. But like I said, if you back it up, then obviously it's going to work out in your favor. And as you mentioned, when we were talking about this in the 10 o'clock hour, the fact that Philadelphia has two legit number ones, just like Cincinnati has two legit number ones, that makes it a nightmare for a defense because you double team one, well, all right, the other one's going to hurt you. And that's what it is. Especially
in the playoffs. In the regular season, it's a little bit different. But in the playoffs, it's like, listen, I don't care how we win. Let's just win. You know, I've went playoff games where I've caught one or two passes. It was like I didn't care.
Yeah.
You know, my mindset has shifted. Like, this is no longer the regular season.
Hey, Drew, you got it today.
Exactly. Like, whatever you want it. Like, if y'all want to run the ball 100 times and we going to win, damn it, let's do that because I want to get to the Super Bowl. So if I catch 100 passes and we get to the Super Bowl, great. If I catch one pass and we get to the Super Bowl, that's great too because we've ultimately reached the goal that we wanted to reach, and that was to get to the Super Bowl. No matter who the light shines on, if the team wins the Super Bowl, the light shines on everybody.
Right. And
so
that's all that matters.
Exactly.
You know, you could have – I mean – I know you would obviously want to have more than one catch, but
yeah,
you know,
but when you're in the playoffs,
right.
your mindset changes because you know you don't have another week to redeem yourself. So it's like if we win a game by kicking 5 field goals, then so be it. Let's kick 5 field goals and let's get out of here and move on. You know, in the playoffs, if we win by Drew catching 10 passes for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. Did we win the game? Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah, let's party. Coming up next, I have a thought on the Titans and the offensive coordinator search that has kind of been sitting in my mind. We'll discuss that coming up next. It's Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Chase in for Caroline today here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Hey, Middle Tennessee, it's trivia time. You think you're pretty smart? Well, come on out Wednesday, February 1st to Boom Ba's East and test your trivia skills. Featuring Willy Donick as Trivia Master, all proceeds support STARS and the hope, health, and connection of young people in our community. Register your team of no more than 4 and let the competition begin. Go to starsnashville.org to officially sign up. That's starsnashville.org. See you February 1st at Boom Ba's East.
Hey, it's Jared. Got to tell you about FanDuel Sportsbook. That's my official sportsbook app. The conference championship games are Sunday, and you can enjoy more thrills than a 2-minute drill on FanDuel. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account because they're going to give all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. That means you'll get free bets back if your conference championship game same-game parlay doesn't hit. Bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to which player will score a touchdown and more. Or if you can't decide, just ride with thousands of other fans and bet popular SGPs already made for you. Boy, the Eagles looked great on Saturday night. And Mahomes, we'll see. New to FanDuel, sign up with the promo code JGM to see for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. And if you've already got FanDuel, you can start building your no-sweat same-game parlay today. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 and older and present in Tennessee. 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued as non-withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified, and restrictions do apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Third and Home is Germantown's bar with a ballpark. Overlooking the Nashville Sounds, you can have the best seats in the house when baseball season returns March 31st. Pro tip, stop by before the game to watch batting practice from the patio and enjoy happy hour food and drink specials. The mouth-watering menu at Third and Home includes signature items such as wings, stuffed breadsticks, classic burgers, and hot chicken and waffles. Third and Home is open Wednesday through Sunday at 11 a.m. Visit thirdandhome.com.
You look at yourself in the mirror every day and you can't deny it anymore. Your hair is not as thick as it used to be, and it's making you feel self-conscious. Hair Club is here to save the day. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 clients love their hair and feel confident again. No matter what stage of hair loss, they can help. Hair Club can customize a solution just for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today at hairclub.com/chase.
We try to stay cool by being on social media.
I'm with it. I'm hip.
Follow us on Twitter at 1025thegame and on Instagram at 1025thegame Nashville.
Hey!
Oh yeah, and like us on Facebook too. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, it's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
615-737-1025. That's our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. You can weigh in on anything that we're talking about. Chase McCabe in for Caroline Fenton. Today it is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Live at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Devils later on this evening with pregame coverage at 6 o'clock. So I have a thought. Nathaniel Hackett has been hired as the offensive coordinator of the New York Jets. Keith Carter, the former offensive line coach for the Tennessee Titans, has been hired as the O-line coach and run game coordinator for the Jets. So he'll work with Nathaniel Hackett. Now everybody is putting the dots together of, okay, Aaron Rodgers is going to go to the Jets. I think that'd be a good fit for Aaron Rodgers if he were to leave Green Bay. But we played this game last year with Denver, and they didn't get him. But so whenever you see over the last few days, okay, so-and-so's hired so-and-so as an OC, everybody's going, well, when are the Titans going to announce their offensive coordinator? And I thought about this of, well, it's a good question because all these signs and everybody kind of thought, all right, it's going to be Tim Kelly. They're just going to elevate him from passing game coordinator, and he's going to be the offensive coordinator. They've interviewed him. They made that official. If they were going to do that, though, Derek, wouldn't they have already done it?
Yeah, you would think so. But I think, even if they do hire Tim Kelly, which there is a possibility they will, I think they want to do their due diligence at, finding that next guy. They want to make sure that they, went out and interview guys that they thought would be a good fit, or try to find guys who they believe is a good fit for this organization, for this coaching staff. Because I think Vrabel understands that, listen, it starts, she ended up firing the GM, bringing in another GM. If this thing doesn't, work itself out or get better, then the next person in line is the head coach. So he wants to, make sure that whoever he puts in that position is capable of not just doing the job, but sees the vision that he sees, that is capable of ushering this offense into the new way of doing things in regards to the NFL. This is a passing league. Yes, you need to be able to run the football, but you better be able to score points in bunches if you need to. And at this point in time, the Titans can't. They haven't been able to prove that they can. So you got to bring in someone that's like-minded, that's innovative, that not only just know how to put together a game plan, but take that game plan, but then implement that game plan, knowing when to call certain plays, when not, to have a feel for the game. So he want to make sure that he goes out and, overturn every stone possible to make sure, even if it is Tim Kelly, to make sure he hires the right guy, because hiring that guy will dictate, I believe, whether you keep your job or lose your job within the next year or two.
Yeah, I think that's a fair point. I also think he's holding out. And I could end up being wrong on this. They announced Tim Kelly today. Who knows? I think he's holding out on one of the guys from the Chiefs. Those Matt Nagy, Eric Bieniemy. Bieniemy has once again gone through the interview process for head coaching jobs. Now, I think if Bieniemy does finally land a head coaching job, which it doesn't look like he's going to this year, which is a shame, that Nagy would just be the OC again for Kansas City. But it also may behoove Eric Bieniemy to try and take a job like the Titans as OC where he can call plays. That might help him in the head coaching process to finally get a head coaching job.
Yeah.
So I don't know. But I think Vrabel wants to see what happens with the Chiefs, because there is that week in between the AFC Championship and the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
So that could give them an opportunity to really sit down and talk and then, see if he could get one of those guys. But and then Charles London's another one that I think is interesting, that, maybe you have a situation where you bring him in, keep Tim Kelly, but bring London in as a passing game coordinator and can help develop young quarterbacks like you've been talking about, because that's going to be the key with whoever is the OC. You need offensive line coach that's going to develop an offensive line, because you're going to have a lot of young linemen as you try and rebuild that thing, and then develop whatever quarterback you're going to get.
Yeah, you're going to have to. So, whether they hire as much as I do believe they need to, sort of wrap up, this search for offensive coordinator, I don't think they feel they need to be in a rush. And, I can understand that, just because, I want them to, name an OC so we can have more to talk about, so
Sure.
so now we can start to put things together and see where this thing is going. If they're going to change philosophies, are they staying with the same philosophy they had over the last 5 years since Vrabel's been here? Selfishly, I want them to name one now. But realistically, I think they can take their time at naming their OC. I think they can take their time all the way up into, the Super Bowl to figure out who's going to be our OC.
See, I don't know if I would wait that long, because don't you want to kind of have that in place for the Senior Bowl? As you can, evaluate talent.
Yeah, but all these guys, whoever you hire is doing that anyway.
Yeah,
whoever
true.
you're hiring is going out to the Senior Bowl, and these scouts are going out, and everybody's evaluating players. You know exactly what you need from your team, regardless of any system. Any system you get, you need a left tackle. You need another guard possibly. You need a backup center or a starting center moving forward. You need another playmaker on the outside. So these are things that even without an offensive coordinator, I know I have to get. So it's not a pressing thing that, okay, I got to get – it's not like the GM where I got to get my GM because we all need to, sort of break down this roster and look over this roster and be in agreement on who we get when we get that player, whether it be via the draft or free agency.
Yeah.
The GM is a big part of that. Offensive coordinator, we can do things while still trying to look for our offensive coordinator. Now, you don't want to get into – late February, March, and you still don't have – no, you don't want to wait to then. But around the Super Bowl, maybe that, that first week or two, I think that's sort of the cutoff line, like the second week of February, where you should have found your OC by now, because no one's playing now.
Yeah, I think they'll have it by then, because they want to have time before the combine.
Exactly.
And all that stuff. But I kind of wonder. You just see a lot of movement with these teams, making their moves. Vrabel always plays things close to the vest, though. I mean, that's no surprise that, I was telling someone I wouldn't be shocked if he's already done it and just hadn't told anybody yet. I mean, that's just kind of how he works sometimes. But I think it's going to be interesting to see who they get and then what happens with the Colts. Mm-hmm. There are signs pointing to Jim Irsay sticking with Jeff Saturday as the head coach, which I look at that as, hey, good for the Titans, because I don't know if that's a great move. But, at the same time, you can connect some dots. He played a couple of years in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, so maybe that's the move. But I read a tweet that said that, Saturday would be able to pick his own staff, which, okay, is that a good thing? But and so that's obviously going to factor into things. What's Houston going to do? I said earlier, I think D'Amico Ryans makes sense there. Former player there, 49ers defensive coordinator. I mean, that guy to me is going to get a job. Dan Quinn's going to get a job. Sean Payton I thought was going to get a job, but maybe not. So, so it's interesting right now with all these coaching moves.
Yeah, good thing for the Titans. They don't have to fill the void that, the most important void, which is the head coaching job. They don't have to fill that, but they do eventually have to get their offensive coordinator. And I'm sure, like you said, Vrabel could probably already know who he really wants. It's probably just formality now. He's just got to go through the process and hope, if it's not Tim Kelly or someone else that is not coaching right now, then he can get a Matt Nagy in the door or Eric Bieniemy in the door right after the AFC Championship game, where they have that week of really just preparing and whatnot, and then you get another week before you play the Super Bowl. So this 2 weeks, like you said, Chase, this 2 weeks it will tell the direction. Well, I guess the next 2 or 3 weeks would tell, whether it's someone in-house or, someone, at another team. Probably more than likely Kansas City, whether it's Nagy or Bieniemy.
Well, because, I think in theory, you don't change the scheme per se, but I think you changed a little bit.
Well, if you bring in a Nagy or a Bieniemy, you got to change it. The terminology, everything's going to change.
Yeah.
But if you go with Tim Kelly, then a lot of things will be changed. A lot of things will stay the same. What will change, I think, and we won't know until the season starts, is not necessarily how the game plan is put together, but how it's called. And we won't know that. We can't sit here and say, well, Tim Kelly's a great play caller. Well, I'm not going to look at what they did in Houston.
They had Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, they had Deshaun Watson, but I'm still not going to look at what he did necessarily in Houston. I want to see what he can do with the talent here.
Right.
Because if he was head and shoulders, if he was just that guy at offensive coordinator, Houston would have kept him. Houston would have either made him head coach or they would have kept him as OC. He has to prove it here with the talent that they have here. So even if they do, it's not like a Nagy or a Bieniemy where we've seen it. Even if they do hire him here, we're not going to know how good of a play caller he is until the season starts.
I'm going to ask you something for coming up next. In your career, and I think I already know the answer, but in your career, the best offense that you ever played in and why you felt it was the best offense that you ever played in. We'll discuss that, and I have somewhere I'm going with that. We'll discuss that coming up next. Preds fans, hang out tonight before the Preds game at the Superbook Lounge in Landshark Bar and Grill, Margaritaville on Broadway with us, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Place your bets with Superbook and enjoy great food and drink specials. Plus, you can enter for a chance to win a pair of tickets to an upcoming Preds home game. It's Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase with Chase here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Tanner's a great teammate. He fights for the team.
Just keep supporting each other, trying to inspire each other out there.
Tonight The Predators wrap up their homestand before the All-Star break against the New Jersey Devils. Pre-game at 6, face-off at 7 on your home for Smashville. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The ultimate family-friendly concert experience is back and all new for 2023. The Kids Bop Never Stop Live Tour is coming your way, so get ready to sing and dance. Friday, July 28th, First Bank Amphitheater. On sale Friday, January 27th at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. So come have the best time ever at the Kids Bop Never Stop Live Tour. See you there. Part of the Farm Bureau Insurance Concert Series presented by Live Nation.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
Hey guys, the new year is here! And for many of us, that means making resolutions to get healthier and in better shape. But if you don't have that youthful energy, if you aren't sleeping well, if you feel like you're walking around in a fog all day, just resolving to get out of bed can be tough, let alone getting back in the gym. But you should know that there are many men feeling this way in these modern times, because low testosterone is affecting more men than ever. And low T can cause all kinds of issues like a reduced sex drive, poor sleep patterns, general fatigue, ineffective workouts. It can even contribute to ED. But the good news is that the medical team at the Tennessee Men's Clinic are experts in treating low T. Many men have experienced life-changing results. Testosterone therapy can help increase energy, workouts, make you feel more rested, and enjoy a greater sex drive too. So make a resolution to find that guy you used to be. Call the Tennessee Men's Clinic. Your initial visit is just $99 and includes a medical consult and testosterone panel. Call 615-208-9090 or go to TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. That's TennesseeMen'sClinic.com. Visit our website to learn more, including side effects, treatment, sex drive results vary.
102.5 and 106.3 The Game is live and local.
And now, let's meet the starting lineups.
Robbie and Rex Road 6 to 9.
You are talking about a team that's building a roster.
Chase and Michelle 9 to 11.
He's still under contract.
It's not always X's and O's.
Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase 11 to 2.
Trades, free agents.
Let's get it going. I think this is a good hire.
And Stillman and Company 2 to 6.
I can give you one of the best coaches in the league.
And don't forget, we're your home for all things Nashville.
He scored!
Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
Hey, this is Ryan Johansson. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
How open are you to changing the offensive scheme?
Well, I think we change things every year, and I want coaches and people, and we had this conversation this morning that are versatile, that have multiplicity, that can adjust, that aren't just married to one specific way of looking at a player, of coaching a scheme, coaching a technique. You know, there's a bunch of different ways to rush the passer. It's a bunch of different ways to block or to run a route, outside zone, inside zone. The whole idea is to have people that, you know, can function and excel in doing different things. And I want to do that offensively. I absolutely do. I want to do whatever is best for our football players, and they can excel. The young players that we saw this year, finding ways to help them make a jump, and then the veteran players that we'll have back.
That's head coach Mike Vrabel last Friday talking about the offensive scheme. Welcome back in, Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Chase McCabe in for Caroline Fenton today alongside Derek Mason. Willy will be along here shortly. So I asked Derek the question of the best offense in his opinion that he ever played in and why. Before he answers that, based on that clip, you know, and he likes to use multiplicity and that word and, you know, different ways to do things. I do think that the biggest problem with Todd Downing was it came across very one-dimensional, even though since Derrick Henry's been here, it's been a run-based defense, a run-first defense. Arthur Smith, I think, did it best where he could get the most out of players because he adapted to the players. He did a lot of different things based on the same scheme, but still did a lot of different things with each players to maximize their abilities. And I just don't know if Todd Downing could really do that. I think that is what Vrabel is looking for. And then to my question to you, I think I know the answer or one of the answers, and that was the exact case with those offenses.
Yeah, I mean, if you listen to Vrabel talk, and he said, well, we change things every year, but he segued to the defense. Most of what he was talking about was the defense. It wasn't the offense. It was the defense. He said, oh, well, in the offense, yeah, you can run a route. There's a lot of different ways you can run a route. No, it's not. There's not a lot of different ways you can run a route. Concepts is different, but you can't. A slant is a slant, whether you run it from the inside or the outside. You got to run it based upon what the defense is doing, whether you come flat across the cornerback's face or flat across the linebacker and keep on trying to find a hole, or you get to the corner and run it at a higher angle and try to find that hole. There's only so many ways. It's only one or two ways you can run a slant route, or three ways. Take an outside release, but it's still a slant. A slant is a slant is a slant. You can't change too much how you run a slant or a curl route or a hitch or an in route or a comeback or a go. He was talking more, I think, in the defense, in regards to the defense, but there are things from an offensive standpoint that you can do. And one thing he said was correct. Like you want to be multiple. You want to be able to take, whether it's A.J. Brown and line him up at the slot, line him up outside, line him up as a point guy in a 3-by-1 if you're in a stacked or in a bunch formation. Those things you can do different with different guys. You can't do that with everybody else. You got to identify who your playmakers are and then put them in positions. I've said this like for the last year and a half. Find out who your playmakers are and put them in positions to make plays. Chigakonkwo, you finally found he was a playmaker. It took you half the season. I don't know why it took you half the season because, I saw it when he first started playing. Like this guy, he's young, but he's a player. Find a way to get him the ball. They didn't do it until the last half of the season. You saw what happened. He was their playmaker on offense from a pass-catching standpoint because Traylon was out a lot.
Yeah.
So when you're putting together an offense, you have your foundation of what this offense is. It's whether it be the offense you've ran over the last 4 or 5 years or whether it's a new offense that's coming in from Kansas City or somewhere else. Once that offense is brought in and once that offense is established, you can't change it.
Yeah.
To me, Vrabel, when he says that, I think he's saying it to people that don't truly know how that works, like truly know how it works, because if you truly know how it works, you can't change an offense every week.
Right.
You work within the offense that you have, and you can run. You can run a little bit more in that offense this week, or you could pass a little bit more on that offense this week. I can take a A.J. Brown or a Traylon Burks. This week he was lined up in the slot. Next week we're going to put him outside. But we're asking him to run the same type routes that everybody's running.
Right.
We're not changing the offense from what we've been doing the last couple of weeks to now we're going to run the offense that Kansas City's running. The verbiage is different. We can't run that offense. We can't run it from a philosophical standpoint. We can run it from a concept standpoint. All offenses are, in a sense, they mirror one another. It's just the terminology and how do we get to point A. We may get to point A differently. But I can't all of a sudden say, guys, we've been running this, let's call it, I don't know what offense you want to call it. Let's call it the Downing offense.
Yeah.
We can't run the Downing offense and then say the next following week because it didn't work. Or y'all see what Kansas City was running?
Yeah, we're going to change.
We're going to change everything and change it to what they're running. Verbiage and everything. You can't do that.
Yeah.
You got to be able to, what I believe he was saying was, and he said it in a sense, you got to be able to take that offense and be creative and be multiple in it.
Which is what Arthur was.
Absolutely.
And that's why Arthur was so good at it because, and I will never forget, when he was introduced as the offensive coordinator and he did a press conference, he said, I'm going to take what Matt did this past year, meaning Matt LaFleur. I'm going to take things I learned from Malarkey. I'm going to take things I learned, even going back to Wisenhunt, like stuff that he has learned over the years in the different offenses and coaches that he's worked with. And that helped him adapt to the players that he had. It was still the basic Shanahan-based type offense, that derivative, but he was able to make it into his own, and Downing just couldn't continue that. That's what I think Vrabel's looking for.
Exactly, and he would be right, but he can't. When he says, "Well, we change every year, we change off, philosophy." You don't. Your players change, yes. You got to change from the standpoint of figuring out how do we incorporate player A into what we're doing and maximize his ability to go out and play this game. He said three things, and I finally found them. He says, teach, develop, and inspire. So within this offensive system, we got to teach them the system, okay? So we can't teach them one system and then a week later teach them another system.
Yeah.
There's no continuity there. So we got to teach them this system over the offseason. We got to develop them within this system, and then we got to inspire them to go out and orchestrate and run this system the way it's supposed to be run. So if you're telling me these three core things are what you hold on to, you can't be changing the offense every year, or you can't be changing the offense every week.
So how would you answer my question? What was your favorite offense you played in?
I've had a few.
Here you had two, Les Steckel and Mike
Heimerdinger, and both of them were great. Les led us to a Super Bowl. The offense he was running was perfect for that Tennessee Titan team, for that era of football. It was perfect, and we went to a Super Bowl because of that offense. But I think they, eventually, you make the change, or they decided to make the change because, Eddie was getting a little bit older, a little bit more beat up. We had to find different ways to score. We had to sort of branch out of the norm. We had to become, a team that can not only run the football but pass the football. So we want Mike Heimerdinger.
Yeah.
Before I get to Heimerdinger, listen, I had Camp Cameron in Baltimore. I had Rick Neuheisel. I had Jim Fossil. Those guys were good coordinators. I love Rick. Rick is my guy. Rick is my guy. Cam is my guy too. Cam is like that 4-year window or 3-year window I had with Cam was wonderful because Cam understood it. He understood the older guys. He understood our limitations. He understood the things that we can do. And he always made sure that, okay, I'm going to make sure that I put in these 3 or 4 plays that I know my veteran guy to run. He would put me like, he would tell me there's 2 or 3 routes that I know can't nobody stop you on, Derek. And he was true. It was a comeback, it was a nonstop, and it was a sluggo stop. We could run a sluggo stop versus any coverage, and they couldn't stop it. It's a hard route to stop, but you got to have time to throw it. I loved him because he understood that, and he would say, these are the routes we can run you on other routes, but if I want to get you the ball and I want to get a first down, these are the routes we're running. All right, cool, coach, I got it. Heimerdinger was hands down to me because he helped. Les Steckel started it. Les Steckel gave me the motivation with his notes and everything else, and him just talking to me, noticing me as a player. And then Mike Heimerdinger took it and said, listen, once I finally got in there and I proved that I can play to him, he said, man, just go out and play football. As long as you're on the same page with Steve, go out there and play football. Don't go outside of the framework of what we're trying to do. But if I draw up, a comeback route and I tell you to run it like this, if you can't find a way to get open, Steve will stick with you.
Right.
Be creative within what we're teaching you. And I think that's the same thing he gave with the guys in Denver when he had time with Denver, with those receivers. And he gave us that opportunity. Not just myself, but Kevin Dyson, Drew Bennett, all the guys. That's why we were able to flourish in that offense. Even Steve, he won an MVP in that offense. Yeah. We were able to flourish in that offense because Mike Heimerdinger understood everybody's everybody's limitations, everybody's strengths.
Yep.
And he allowed us to go out there and play. Don't be pigeonholed to what we're doing.
Sure.
If the defensive back is standing right there, then find a way to get open. It's not always going to work the way we drew it up. But you and the quarterback on the field, I'm not. So as long as y'all make it work, as long as y'all two are on the same page, I'm good with it. And he was absolutely right. That's why it seemed, that's why Steve and I was so, it was just like peanut butter and jelly. Just go out there and boom. Because he knew exactly what I was doing. I know what he wanted. I knew what he was doing. And we always found a way to get open, whether it be myself or Drew or Kevin or McCarron's.
Yeah. 615-737-1025. That's our phone line, driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com. If you want to weigh in on the offensive coordinator discussion and what the Titans are looking for, it's Chase McCabe in for Caroline today. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5-106.3, The Game.
Every Wednesday at 8:30. Join Robbie and Rex Road for The Choice is Yours.
2 sports questions, 2 non-sports questions.
They'll answer a couple of questions about life and sports. The Choice is Yours is built by Jarrett Companies. You have a choice. So when you have a need for site and utility work, fire protection, concrete and asphalt services, the choice is simple. It's Jarrett Companies. For more, visit JarrettCompaniesInc.com. The Choice is Yours. Wednesdays at 8:30 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Ford. It's a new year, so I thought I would share my personal resolution with you. My resolution is to be able to hula hoop on the trampoline for 1 minute. This might be painful. Since I've had years of practice making resolutions, I thought I'd give you some tips on making yours. It should involve 3 key components. First, make it something new, like texting without using your thumbs. Second, make it easy, like reading more, or at least turning the subtitles on while binge watching Netflix. And third, make sure no matter what, that you buy your next new car from Newton. We want to make your purchase fast and easy with Newton FastPass. We'll even deliver the car to you. Remember, new, easy, and buy at Newton. I have a feeling this next year is going to be great. Shop at NewtonFord.com to start your resolution today. See website for details. Put your resolutions in writing.
Hey Nashville, TJ Anderson here. With real estate listings, you have to read between the lines, like trendy, so are man buns, or great potential, just like your ex. Must see inside, yeah, because it's a dump outside. My team at TJ Anderson Homes at Benchmark Realty is ready to help both home buyers and sellers decode the market. Oh, and if it says open floor plan, the doors are sold separately. Google TJ Anderson Homes, read our reviews, and see why we are referred for a reason. TJ Anderson Homes of Benchmark Realty, 615-432-2919.
Signs First, Nashville's foremost destination for event signage and physical media. Located just minutes from Broadway, our team of design, production, and installation professionals can help you create an unforgettable event. Stand out. Be different. Go to sfnash.com.
Curation CBD products. Curation began as our family's mission to provide the Nashville community with locally and organically sourced CBD products. We are passionate about providing high-quality CBD products for everyday use. Tinctures, topicals, and pet products too. We are a Pick 10 company. Our hemp is organically grown and produced in Nashville, Tennessee from sustainably sourced non-GMO genetics. All of our products are lab tested. Find all of our products at CurationCompany.com.
Hi, I'm Steve Lehman. Belmont Basketball is the best sports entertainment value in Nashville. Join us. Get your tickets at BelmontBruins.com. Belmont Basketball. It's Bruin time.
Golfers, tee it up at Edwin Watts Golf Shops and go farther and faster with the new G430 woods and irons from Ping. The Ping G430 woods introduce the next generation of speed with new face technology for longer and more accurate shots. The new Ping G430 irons are designed with pure flex technology for faster ball speed and more distance. Swing into Edwin Watts Golf Shops and get custom fit on the new Ping G430 woods and irons today. Edwin Watts Golf Shops, home of the 90-day satisfaction guarantee.
He's got big takes.
It's not that freaking hard. Hand the ball to Henry.
Small takes.
You have to defend your decision.
But all takes.
They win, they lose. Just invested a lot into this game. It was the worst press conference.
He is Jared Stillman.
I guess I'm just not a very good coach, Jared.
Weekdays from 2 to 6, Stillman and Company. Presented by TriStar Moving on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Caroline, Willy, I had to think of the name of the show. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game. Chase McCabe in for Caroline Fenton today alongside Derek Mason. Willy will be along here in just a minute. Talking about the Titans, their offensive coordinator search, what is next for the two-tone blue? And we're going to be discussing this, throughout the offseason. Bill Barnwell has an article up on ESPN Plus, how 7 teams can make 2023 NFL playoffs potential offseason moves. And this is geared towards 7 NFL teams that made the postseason in 2021 and then missed it in 2022, which includes the Rams, the Packers, the Titans, Patriots, Steelers, Raiders, Cardinals. This is kind of a funny line. There's a large gap between the team in 7th and every other team. If you're a head coaching candidate getting calls from a 602 number, consider this free advice. So I thought that was pretty good. But so here's what he got. He's got the Cardinals as the last team. Mm-hmm. They fired Cliff Kingsbury. The Raiders with Josh McDaniels. Could Brady end up there? We'll skip the 5th team for a second. Then he's got the New England Patriots at 4. And then the Steelers at 3, what they need to do, the Packers at 2, and then number 1 being the Los Angeles Rams, the defending Super Bowl champions. So number 5 on this list will be the Tennessee Titans, and he goes in depth with them. And obviously the questions surrounding them would be, do you keep Tannehill, do you keep Henry? He has Taylor Lewan as, okay, do you restructure and bring him back? Bud Dupree. All the moves that Rand Carthon and Mike Vrabel have to make. He says the Titans. Let's make both cases. This is what he says. Let's make both cases. If Vrabel and company are inclined to believe the second half of the 2022 season was an arbitration, they can point to an absurd stack of injuries as their fatal flaw. They had 22 players on IR by the end of the season, which included Tannehill and the entire starting offensive line, linebackers David Long and Zach Cunningham. Obviously, they never had Harold Landry because of the ACL. And then Dupree was in and out of the lineup, and Jeffrey Simmons was playing through an ankle injury. The Titans should get all of those guys back next season. They have the number 11 overall pick in April's draft, their highest selection since 2017. So they could essentially run it back like we've been talking about. If the Titans go that route, they'll need to commit further to their core. Tannehill, Taylor Lewan, and veteran running back Derrick Henry are in the final year of their contracts and would get new extensions to create cap space. I don't think that happens with Lewan. I just don't. I think Lewan's gone.
I'm with you.
I was on the maybe bring him back on a cheaper deal train, but I don't think so. Even he thinks he's going to get cut. So that's something. He mentions restructuring Dupree's deal, which I haven't gotten a chance to ask you about this because you were like, Dupree's got to go. In a league that it's hard to find pass rush, even though he's been hurt, if you can restructure it, would you consider bringing him back?
No.
You say no.
No.
You're moving on.
You need to move on. This would be going to the 3rd year of the contract, and he's been injured for most of it.
Yep.
And history tells me he's getting older, and he's not going to get healthier. So you move on from him. You try to find if you can trade him along with maybe someone else, then you do that. If you can release him without any not much repercussions as far as the salary cap, then you do it. But he was hurt coming in, and he's been hurt ever since. Do you take a chance to pair him back up with Harold Landry? I don't know, because what people got to realize this too, and I know people are going to, Harold Landry's coming back. Harold Landry's coming back. Yeah, he is. But you know what's also coming with Harold Landry? A rehabilitation year.
Yeah.
He rehabilitated all last year. It's going to take him another full year to get back to where he was prior to the injury. So you're talking about having him potentially on the field this year, yes, Harold Landry, but he's not going to be the Harold Landry that we last saw. Not because he doesn't have the ability to play the position at a high level. He does. But he's coming off an ACL. It's going to take him another full year to get back to that player he was before that. And I guarantee you, next year, he will go through the season, and probably halfway through the season or something, he's going to say, well, I'm starting to feel like the player I was prior to the injury.
Yeah.
So don't expect this Harold Landry that we saw prior to the injury. It's going to take him a full year to work himself back into it. And then the 2024 season, that's the season where I believe he's going to truly be back to form. So you're going to have a guy coming in off an ACL in Harold Landry, working his way back through everything. You need somebody on the other side that's just a bona fide stud. You need somebody that's young, without a history of injuries, that can get to the quarterback. You pair him up back with Bud Dupree, you're going to end up with the same situation. Bud Dupree missing games in and out of the lineup. Vrabel has basically told you that, listen, this guy's too injured for me. Anytime he talks about Bud Dupree, it's just like I'm going to say something quickly and move on. When he talks about Jeffrey Simmons or Danico Autry or Tier Tart, he's gushing about those guys.
Yeah, you're right.
He doesn't gush about Bud Dupree. Why? Because he can't rely on Bud Dupree to play.
Right.
So why keep that? Aren't we trying to move away from that stuff? Playing injured guys and keeping injured guys? Move away from them.
Well, Rand Carthon was asked about bringing in injured guys, and he goes, yeah, I'd prefer not to do that.
Exactly. And then the guys that are injured now, it's like, why do I want to keep on going down this road with a guy who has not proven, even in his Pittsburgh days, hasn't proven I can count on him for 17 games?
There's a text that I want to read coming up next because it's about injured players and the medical staff that I want to get your opinion on. We will do that coming up next. Chase McCabe in for Caroline today. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
You watch The Game.
Haskins again doesn't get it. Jaguars have won the AFC South.
We talk The Game.
The offensive side of the football for the Titans, who should be back next season.
We are The Game. Nashville's best sports talk. 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards. cards. Close in about 14 days and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Now, your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators are back in action this evening against the New Jersey Devils with pregame at 6 and puck drop at 7 here on 102.5 The Game. The Preds announced this morning that they'll be without defenseman Alexander Carrier with an upper body injury for 4 to 6 weeks. Head coach John Hines joined Robbie and Rexroad this morning and addressed the team meeting they had after last week's loss against the St. Louis Blues.
So I think it was something that was much needed. There was a ton of substance to it. It wasn't a fluff meeting, or sometimes when guys go in and talk, it's kind of a conversation. There was some heartfelt, truthful statements that were made.
And it's conference championship weekend here in the NFL with the AFC matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs coming up on Sunday. Quarterback Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And the New York Jets have hired Nathaniel Hackett as their new offensive coordinator after one season with the Denver Broncos as their head coach. And former Titans offensive line coach Keith Carter joins him on staff. I'm Nick Keyser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Live from the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. WPRT-FM Pegram, WPUC HD2 Laverne. Nashville's exclusive home for the Nashville Predators. 1025 and 106.3.
A gutty performance. Do your job.
And the Tigers regain the lead.
The Game.
A Cromwell media station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personalities of all time.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
it's officially Chase, Willy, and D-Mase. Even though it's Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Chase in for Caroline. 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
It's all in the family.
All in the family. That is right. Chase McCabe in for Caroline today. Willy Donick has joined us as the Predators have wrapped up morning skate. They'll take on the New Jersey Devils tonight here at Bridgestone Arena. It's going to be a fun game. This is a Devils team that is just taking a leap this year as one of the best in hockey. I talked to Greg Wyshynski this morning. We were just talking about how fast they are and moving the puck around. So it'll be a fun one to watch for sure. But, Willy, welcome in. Good to see you. Been a minute.
Good to see you, yeah.
Putting the band back together?
Yeah, the band is back together. Boy, it's just like an old shoe.
Hey, y'all, the band's back together.
Just like an old shoe. It just slips right back on.
Yep, exactly. But we're talking about – Bill Barnwell has an article on ESPN Plus about the 7 teams that missed the playoffs last year that had made it the previous year. And so we're kind of discussing that. And the big thing that he referenced with the Titans was 22 players on injured reserve, which included the starting quarterback, the entire offensive line, and then 2 of the key linebackers on defense, as well as many, many others. And Ken from Waverly on our text line, driven by WilsonCountyHoney.com, says the Titans need to really evaluate their medical staff. I think they are weak-minded. They need to toughen up and, in turn, toughen up the players. And I'm curious, Derek, as you laugh, your thoughts on that.
Thank you for the text as well. And we appreciate everybody's text, whether we agree with them or not. We appreciate it because that's their opinion. But, I mean, it's hard to – how do you, Willy, how do you evaluate weak-minded person, like medical staff? How do you evaluate that? I mean, how do you do? I mean, Chase, I'm asking.
I don't know.
Like, Willy,
I think it's
Ladarius. How do you
honestly
evaluate weak-minded medical staffs? Did you give them a test?
You know what? We've talked about this before. There's a few things in sports that are the absolute thankless jobs, and one of them is the training staff on a team that has an injury issue, right? If a team stays healthy, you rarely hear What a great training staff they have. Man,
Right.
it's amazing. They're
Right.
keeping this team healthy. They get no credit for that.
No.
But as soon as you have a rash of injuries, what's going on with the training staff? What's going on with strength and conditioning? They must not be doing a very good job. Like it's like that is an automatic thing that gets asked. And look, with the Titans being as snake bit as they have been the last couple of years, they get asked a lot. And they have no choice but to say, look, we got to look at everything we're doing. We're going to see if we can do anything better. But it's not as if they're not aware, right? And they're not working as hard as they could possibly. Look, to think that those guys in the training room don't know what they're doing or something, which is what some outsiders will theorize when a team has a bunch of injuries, I think nothing could be further from the truth. You do not get to this level in the NFL without knowing what you're doing and knowing a deep, deep understanding of how to treat injuries, how to try to prevent injuries. You could be doing everything right, I think, and still have this happen.
But
it's not your fault.
Sure, but I think it's 2 years in a row that you've had just a rash of injuries.
Well, what about Chase? But what about the years prior to that? Because this is the same staff.
Sure.
Like, this is the same training staff that they've had.
Yeah.
Because I know some of the people that are over there. Yeah. They were there when I was there.
Right.
So
They didn't forget how to do it.
Exactly.
Like, man, how do I treat a hamstring?
Exactly.
You guys ever heard of a hamstring injury? No, I've never heard of that. Oh,
yeah.
I mean,
this guy pulled his
really
groin.
tough.
What do we do for that? I don't know.
So
That's
it's
new.
like Willie said it. It's a thankless job because when everybody's healthy, no one's congratulating. Or, hey, you know what? They're calling in or texting us or tweeting us. Hey, man, y'all hear about that Titans training staff? Look at that team. They're good, man. No injuries. No, but the minute they have had their rash of injuries over the last 2 years. But to me, I think it's just been them. You're going to have your injuries throughout the NFL. Some teams are going to have a lot of injuries, but what? We don't cover those teams, so what? We don't care about what's going on with their medical staff and their injuries. We only know about their injuries when they play us. We don't know about their injuries when they're playing some other team 3 weeks from now, especially a team we only play once a season. So that medical staff could be having some of the same issues we're having, but we're not following them. Everything is magnified here in Nashville because we follow them. The team has been hit with a rash of injuries, but it hasn't all been hamstring issues or, pulled muscles. There's been ACLs, concussions, things you just can't avoid in a game.
I think there's also some variables, too, beyond the training staff. The individual player. And I'm not picking on – I have no idea who would fit into this category or doesn't fit into this category. He kind of did.
Yeah.
Soft tissue. He did kind of name some names. He called them like repeat offenders. But sticking with the program, paying extra detail. I've had a hamstring injury before. I've had a groin pull before. What can I do extra in the offseason to make sure I can maybe decrease the chances of it recurring? What about when you're on a program, you're supposed to be out for 2 weeks? Well, am I doing every single thing I can do in those 2 weeks? Am I working as hard as I need to be working in the physical therapy sessions? I think we all, if you've ever had either sports-related or just work-related injury, and they send you to one of the great facilities we have around town, right? There's tons of them. You're in there with a group of people. I'm sure if you look around the room, there's some people when the trainer or your physical therapist says, okay, I need you to do 3 sets of 10. Take this roller. Work. For me, recently I had a bad shoulder injury. Remember the infamous pickleball injury, right? So I spent a lot of time with those guys. And so you look around, who's working hard? There's some people that are just kind of going through the motions, okay, I got to go. They're sending me here. I guess I got to go over here. Like, there is a variable there, right? Mm-hmm. Who's working as hard as they can work, who's not? Derek, I'm sure you saw through the years some guys who are unbelievable. They get back quicker than they're supposed to because they work real hard. They listen to every detail. Yeah. Other guys, maybe it doesn't come as easy to them with that.
Well, and then some guys are this way. And I played with a lot of guys that were this way. The most notable was Steve. It's like, I don't need to get back to 100%, but just get me back on the field. That's all you need to do. Get me back on the field. I don't need to be 100% because in this sport, you're not going to be 100%. Just get me back on the field, and I will but I'm going to do everything that I need to do in the process. But just get me back on the field.
Yeah,
If
I
I
mean,
tell
it's
you
on
I'm
you.
ready, let me go out there and test it and see if I'm ready. Some guys in this new NFL, they're not ready until they feel they're 100%. They don't want to, and I get it.
Pain
because
tolerance,
it's a business to them, and I understand it. But you got to have some of those guys that are like, listen, I know I'm not going to get back to 100%, but get me back to a whatever percent it is where I can go out there and I can test it. And if I can maintain that, if I can sort of get through that threshold of pain, then I'm good. I don't need to be 100%. Some guys need to be 100%.
How much, though, is it the player saying that they need to be 100%, and how much is it the organization's being overprotective? Because I do think some of that happens.
I think they are overprotective when it comes to concussions. I think they are, which they should be.
Yeah, I get
because
that.
a player is like, listen, I can go.
very sensitive thing.
I can go. I'm fine. And then the medical staff is like, nah, let's hold off. I understand that. But in other situations, hamstrings, you're coming back from an ACL, it's ultimately up to the player. Like, listen, how do you feel today? You feel like you can go out? Yes or no? Yeah, I can feel like I can go and try and see what happens. Okay, I go out there, go through walkthrough or warm-ups and say, Coach, I can't, give me another day. All right, cool. But then there are some guys that go out there and like, I'm going to push it through. I'm going to push it as long as I possibly can. And then I will pull back. But if I can push it through practice, I make it through practice, then the next day I'm going to go in and get treatment so the next day I can come back out and go a little bit further. You have a lot of guys, I believe, that won't do that. And that's not on the medical staff.
Yeah. No, that's
you got to know your body.
Exactly.
Yeah, and I think there's this guy too, right? There's the guy that always tells you, I'm good, I can go. Uh-huh. And it may be a hamstring.
And he pushes
you're like,
too
wait,
much.
Derek, I don't know, man. I mean, you could you know how hamstrings are, man. You could re-aggravate that. Oh, no, I'm good. I want to get out. I got to get out there. And that's when they re-aggravate it. So you have to really be smart.
Yeah.
With that, you got to be honest.
Yeah.
Right. If you still feel like it could go again,
the guy
then you got to be smart about that.
The guy that's dealt with the hammy all year, to me, is I think the guy that's tried to push through, and it's like, dude, you just got to let it heal. Like you just got.
And that's, to me, that's one of the hardest things. That specific injury, and I've had that before too, where you start running around, you're like, oh, it feels good, and it does.
Right.
But then you start that one time, it could go again. And that's what you really don't know. It doesn't start creeping up on you every time, right? You could have it pull, then you start running around. It feels good for about 30 minutes or so, and then all of a sudden, same thing happens again.
Well, and how many times have you seen here, in Nashville, that on a Thursday it feels great, but it's 50 degrees. On game time, it's 20. And what that does. I mean, because that does affect it,
But then that's up to the player. That's why Vrabel loves, Jeffrey Simmons. That's why he loves, David Long Jr.
Jeff's shoot it up. Let's go.
And somebody like Ryan Tannehill or Ben Jones. Why? Because those guys fight. Those guys understand everybody is hurt. Fight through it. We got to fight through it. Some guys don't want to fight through it. That's why when you talk about certain guys, he's like,
Willie, you know the line. You know the line. Barry Trotz, are you hurt or are you injured?
Yeah, the hockey guys, very similar culture.
Exactly.
With that.
Yeah, because it's very, very different. It's Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, but it's actually Chase, Willy, and D-Mase today in for Caroline. She's off for the rest of the week. We're live at Bridgestone Arena for the Predators and the Devils coming up tonight at Pete and Terry's Tavern. We'll have more on that and much more coming up next here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
Want the latest on college football and Nashville sports?
He looks like 1,000 quarterbacks I've seen in a college game.
Join Outkick 360's Chad Withrow every Friday at 5 with Stillman and Company.
The coaching staff kept him and got rid of the other guys.
They'll bring opinions and charisma for a full half hour every week.
If he's so great in the locker room, then give him a coaching gig.
Chad Withrow is presented by Two Rivers Ford. Custom order your new Ford from Two Rivers Ford on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Willy Donick here. If you think that mortgage rates are still really high, and they were for a while, they've come down to 5-month lows. And Loan Pronto wants you to know that they can help you right now. It may be time to talk refi. You might be able to save yourself $500 a month or more, depending on your situation. So if you are in a situation where you have a mortgage rate of 6% or 7%, get this. Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So immediately, you need to pick up the phone and call Loan Pronto because that's money in your pocket. 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780. Or take some of the cash in a refi or a HELOC and get those credit card bills down to zero. Start that home improvement project. LoanPronto.com is the website where you can find out all of this information. Remember, Loan Pronto is here to help you. We've used it in our household as well in the Donick residence. LoanPronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 1661781, subject to lender approval.
Hey, it's Joe Rexler for FanDuel. Let you know, folks, the NFL Conference Championships are this Sunday, and you can enjoy more thrills in a 2-minute drill on FanDuel. It doesn't matter if you're new to FanDuel or if you already have an account, because we're giving all customers a no-sweat same-game parlay. This means you'll get free bets back if your conference championship same-game parlay does not hit. You can bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to which player will score a touchdown. If I was looking at this weekend, if I'm looking at Bengals Chiefs, look, I like the Bengals with Mahomes hurt. I like Joe Mixon anytime touchdown, and I would go under. That would be my parlay on that game. Do whatever you want. If you can't decide, you can ride with thousands of other fans of popular same-game parlays already made for you. If you're new to FanDuel, sign up with promo code Joe102 to see for yourself why it's America's #1 sportsbook. And if you already have FanDuel, you can start building your no-sweat same-game parlay today. Make everyone more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner in the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. 3+ legs, minimum $1 bet required. Refund issued is now withdrawable free bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Max bonus $5 unless otherwise specified. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call the Tennessee Red Line 800-889-9789.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Want to weigh in on the conversation? Some brain booster. Slide into our DMs. Or just text or call at 615-737-1025. Our phone line is driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
I actually just saw them the other night rally to beat Vegas. There's a couple things you got to keep in mind. First of all, if you're somebody familiar with the Devils through the years, this is not your father's New Jersey Devils. They are a fast, quick, offensive team. They attack on the forecheck. They try to get out on as many odd man rushes as they can, and they become very adept at getting back into their own zone to defend you to make sure that you don't get those odd man rushes back the other way. Jack Hughes has leveled up to become a star in this league. I mean, he is now making plays in every game that kind of leave you slack-jawed in how quick he can make them and actually getting better in handling the physicality of the game, which was really the biggest problem for him in his first couple seasons after being selected first overall.
That's Greg Wyshynski of ESPN earlier this morning on Chase and Michelle talking about the Devils who've come in here tonight to take on the Nashville Predators. Chase McCabe, Willy Donick, Derek Mason hanging out at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Devils coverage will begin at 6 o'clock later on tonight here on 102.5 The Game. Reporter Nick Keyser, is back at the Hiller Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electrical Studios. I don't know if you guys have picked up on that yet, but he's a reporter, so we have to acknowledge him as that.
Reporter Nick.
That's what he is. So we know that Alex Carrier has been he's going to be out 4 to 6 weeks. The Predators announced that today. They've recalled Kevin Gravel from Milwaukee, who we've seen at various points this year. That's one of those you respect Alex Carrier for going toe-to-toe defending his teammate, but a 5 foot, 5'6" guy taking on a 6'7" guy.
He's listed at 5'11".
5'11". Sorry, Alex. Wasn't trying to insult you there, but 5'11" going.
We're not talking Cliff Ronning. But
yeah. 5'11" going against a 6'7" guy. I don't recommend that, and he's going to miss some time.
Well, they announced 4 to 6 weeks, and John Hines did say after the game it was the fight where he got hurt. So it's unfortunate. Now, he will gain in the long term even more respect. He's a respected player, but that just gains folklore right there. And you heard what every one of his teammates, starting with Cody Glass, had to say about that reaction. You know, so that got people going.
Matthias Ekholm was
you think
praising.
about. Yep, I heard what he said yesterday talking to you, Chase, and think about also when that happened in the game. It was the first period. The Jets scored on the first minute of the game. So you're down 1-0, and Nashville was struggling a little bit, I think, in the first 5-6 minutes to get going, find their game. And they needed a little bit of a spark. And then here comes Cody Glass, gets absolutely pummeled by a rookie, and Alex Carrier jumps in there, doesn't think about it, goes and does it. So I do think that helped turn the game around. Now, you got to figure out how to get through. They have not played nearly as well. There's been a drop-off in games, if you take a look, when Carrier has been out. Yeah. So this is going to be a test because one of the stabilizing things on this team has been since they put McDonough with Yossi and since they went Carrier-Ekholm, that's given them 2 really solid pairs. And then I think Jeremy Lauzon has really found his game with Dante Fabro on the third pair. And so that's disrupted a little bit. And so we'll see how they go with the pairs tonight. I do think that with the 5 defensemen, after Carrier was out, they bumped up the minutes for all of them, and they really did a good job. And you've got this long break coming. So I think you could maybe be a little creative. Tonight you don't necessarily just have to roll 3 pairs. I think you use the 5, kind of the way they did against the Jets, and you spot Gravel, he's a good size. He's a good penalty killer. So if you end up in the box, I think that's his strength. The power play, you kind of know who's going to be out there, and you didn't need a power play guy, so Gravel doesn't do that. So I think that's why they chose Gravel for this one game. And then the other silver lining of this is 2 of those 4 weeks basically will be shaved off.
Yeah, with
the break. So Carrier probably misses maybe a half dozen games less than he would have if they were playing throughout this process. So hopefully it's a fast heal, but we'll see. But he's a very important player for this team.
Obviously there's connections to the Devils. John Hines was the head coach with the Devils. Tom Fitzgerald, the first captain of the Nashville Predators, is their general manager. Andrew Brunette, who was on the original team, scored the first goal for the Preds in their history, is an assistant coach. And then you mentioned Patrick
Sebastian Bordelon.
Sebastian Bordelon.
Yeah.
Sorry,
skills coach for the Predators, who travels with the team now. He's always on hand. You'll see him on the bench for warm-ups most nights, but he doesn't sit on the bench for the games. But so you got 3 original Preds in the house. I'm sure you're going to share some memories of those first days. But it's interesting you mentioned John Hines' history with the Devils. The Devils, it's finally now coming together. You just heard Greg Wyshynski talking about how explosive this Devils team is right now. A couple of first overall picks, Hughes and Hischier, now hitting it, right? Nico Hischier was 18 years old when John Hines was the coach. Wasn't ready. Was not one of those immediate guys like Connor McDavid who just walks into the league and starts dominating. It took a while for him, but now he's there. Jack Hughes, took him a year or 2. Now he has exploded, 30 goals, 30 assists. Hischier is 46 points in 46 games. So it took a while for the Devils to build. John Hines was there. They did not have the horses at that time. They didn't have the goaltending, that's for sure, which is why it's interesting. Tom Fitzgerald, as the GM, had to fire John Hines.
Yeah.
It was the ownership that basically said, look, we're struggling. We got to do something. Let's fire the coach. But Tom Fitzgerald saw John Hines long enough, saw what he did every day, and recommended John Hines to David Poile and said, this is a good coach. Don't be fooled by the record. This guy does a very good job. This is a guy you need to look at. So It's interesting. I think about that every time these two teams play. And I'm sure John Hines thinks about it. And so this is a very good test here. Devils coming in at 18-2-2 on the road, the best in the league.
It's gonna be one of those, like I like to call it, measuring stick games. That's for sure. See where you measure up against one of the top teams in the league before the All-Star break. There are times where when a team starts building momentum, they've won 8 of their last 12, I think it is, that you don't want to see it stop. But I think this team could probably use a little bit of a break because things are just going to tighten up even more. And the other part of it is, too, it gives David Poyle and company time to do some analysis of what they got and what they want to do. If you missed my one-on-one with David Poyle earlier today, you can go to thegamenashville.com. But one of the things I brought up with him is how difficult it is to evaluate what you want to do at the trade deadline because the cap's not going to move that much. Teams are right up against the cap. GMs are going to have to get creative to move stuff around. And he basically said, Chase, I'm probably not going to – you're not really going to know until maybe a day before. You might see some moves happen, as you get closer to it. But, think about it. We were talking about this the other day. How many moves have you seen to this point? None, really. There
really has not been a significant trade since the season started. I was listening to Gary Bettman the other day where, among other things, he said he doesn't think teams tank. I don't, Gary. We're not buying that. And he had his ways of saying it, right? Players and coaches every night are trying. Yeah, I get that, but we know that teams have been set up without a lot of really good players, and there are ways to do it. He knows that as well as anybody else. But another thing he said was that one of the reasons the cap hasn't gone up, they're still paying back, they're still getting the revenues set from the COVID years and all the revenue lost because they didn't have the crowd in there for the better part of 2 seasons, right? So, and really parts of 3 seasons when you get down to it. But he did say there is a chance that next year the cap will go up a little bit more, whereas a couple of months ago he said it's only going to go up about $1 million. So the GMs are got to be saying, ooh, wait a minute now. If it goes up a little bit more next year, maybe we can be a little more creative and a little more flexible in how we go about it. So we'll see if they actually can make an announcement on that. But keep an eye out for that. If they do say that the cap's not going to go anywhere this year, and teams are up against it, it's going to make deals tough. But if they announce that it will go up next year, then maybe that does open the door for a few more moves at the deadline. But I think for Nashville, you got this game tonight. You have to justify it. Hey, we need this break because you're getting the break, whether you want to keep playing or not. You have this break. You have to take advantage of it. And then the big story will be, can you come back in and play well on the other side? Because it's almost like a new season. Can you imagine, Derek? You have a bye week, right, in the NFL. I don't know what it feels like when you get back from a bye week, but imagine 11 straight days in a season where you're off, when you're used to playing every other night, right? That's a big-time break in the rhythm. Mm-hmm. They want you to get away from it. Go somewhere. Take your family, take your buddy, whatever. Get away, go somewhere, place warm, do whatever you want, and then come back ready to play. But you can think about how that will change up the rhythm in a lot of these teams, right?
Yeah,
for that much of a break.
It can help, or in some situations it can hurt because you're in a rhythm and you're winning and everything is going well. Then all of a sudden, you take this basically 2 weeks off, and then you come back at it, and now the rhythm's thrown off just a little bit. Everybody got to work themselves back into rotation and everything else. But like you said it perfectly. In the NFL, depending on when you have that break. Now, if you have that break in the middle of the season, it's like, okay, we take 3 or 4 days off, 5 days off, and it's like, whew, man, it feels like now it's a new season. Everybody, we've gotten some guys back that was hurt. We look like a new team. We look like a healthy team. Now let's start the push. So it is essentially, if it happens in the middle of the season, it is essentially a new season. The second half of the season.
I feel like that. I do think it's like 2 seasons almost. And this is what the players negotiated. This is what they want. But there are teams that will handle it better than other teams when they get back. We'll cross that bridge when they come to it, right? In the meantime, you want to just stay in that mode tonight. It's battle mode. It's stay with the things that have been successful in these last couple of wins. The engagement, the passion, the detail, top players leading the way. They're going to need all of that tonight because this is the best team that they faced in this last stretch of games. They've been beating some good teams here, but this will be the best team they've faced in a while.
I'm going to leave you with this, Willie. You'll be very proud of me. I watched some college hoops last night.
Very good.
Tennessee whooping up on Georgia. It's a good time.
What did I tell you yesterday, Chase? You went on this little rant about your coach.
I know.
Right? Well, what did I tell you?
He's not my coach, but no. I went on a little rant. You said they got players. They got talent.
I said this Tennessee team can win it. They are the number one. Now, they showed this last night. They're the number one defensive team in the country.
Yeah.
You have to work to score 50, 55 points against them. And Georgia ended up with what, 40?
41.
41? And it was, they couldn't get anything. Tennessee didn't even play that well last night. The stretch that I watched.
No, they did. They spread, and they were spreading the ball around, too. I mean, it wasn't just one guy.
I do think that the question for Tennessee will be, do they have enough guys who can score, but when it's time, like who's the man? Who's the man when you need a big bucket in those tournament games? But they're going to have the defense that is going to give them a chance every single night. I don't care who they are playing. And I think they really have what it takes. They could go all the way. They could.
We will see. All right, I turn it over to you guys. It's been fun putting the band back together. Only a few songs today, but we'll
keep rehearsing.
We'll do it again. I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
The next reunion.
More Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase coming up next here on 102.5, 106.3 The Game.
This is Mikhail Kraland, and this is Nashville.
The rebound shoveled in by Mikhail Granlund, and the Predators have tied it up on the power play.
This is the flagship of the Nashville Predators radio network, ESPN 102.5, The Game.
All right, the final drive for the championship is here, and you know what? There is not a better place to bet on that than on the football title tilt than Superbook Sports. Superbook features the best menu of prop bets in the business. Plus, you can check out their special odds boosts and promotions over at superbook.com. They have over 3 decades of odds-making experience in Las Vegas. You know what? There's no better way to wager than Superbook Sports. Win some money as one lucky team wins the championship. Do like I did. Download that app today. Looking at championship weekend, San Francisco and Philadelphia in the NFC, that's pretty much stayed the same. San Fran plus 2.5 on the road. That's who I like. But the AFC Championship game has been all over the place. Cincinnati right now getting a point on the road. The Chiefs are the 1-point favorite. That was a pick 'em last night. The Cincinnati's been a favorite at 1 point during this. It's all over the place, but you can find it on Superbook Sports. Visit superbook.com for terms and conditions. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-889-9789.
Middle Tennessee, you can count on an award-winning service team for all your home maintenance and improvement needs. Lee Company, we're A+ rated with the Better Business Bureau and trusted by thousands of homeowners in our community. Our team is ready to assist with all your home maintenance projects, heating and air conditioning, plumbing, electrical, appliance service, and more. Experience the convenience of calling one phone number for all your home maintenance needs. Call Lee Company today at 615-567-1000 or visit leecompany.com.
Happy New Year and Happy New You from Houston Clinic Orthopedics, conveniently located where you live and work, with various locations in and around the Nashville area. Houston's physicians specialize in spine, joint replacement, knee, hip, upper extremity, and many other orthopedic conditions. At Houston Clinic Orthopedics, they strictly adhere to all CDC guidelines for the patient's and staff safety. To experience world-class orthopedic care and see a list of all Houston physicians and specialties, visit their website at tn.houston.com and book your appointment online today.
TSU basketball lives on 102.1 The Ville. Join Coach Brian Petty Collins and the Tigers for every great moment in the OVC. On your home for TSU basketball, 102.1 The Ville and the Ville app.
Hey, Smashville, this is Sean Henry. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game.
Back on 102.5 The Game. Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase here with you from Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Devils later on tonight. Our coverage begins at 6 o'clock. D-Mase, let's talk. You heard Chase going out to the break talking about the two matchups, AFC and NFC championship games. 4 really good teams that have had great seasons. No real surprise guests. So I want to get your thoughts on a couple of things to look for in this game. We'll talk about it a little bit more tomorrow, I'm sure. But I'm really looking forward to these games. I think you could have 2 outstanding contests here. I want to start in the NFC. We have watched this Eagles offense all year long. And, of course, from a Titans perspective, it's like, wait a minute, A.J. Brown had another great game.
Another.
This isn't looking good here from the trades perspective here. But, they've shown some versatility. They run the ball very well as a group, starting with Hurts. They've got the 2 great receivers on the outside. It's a versatile offense. But now you face probably the best defense. This 49er defense has been incredible. That's the matchup I'm really curious about. Do you think Hurts can have the type of effectiveness against that type of defense? I would say this is probably the best defense that they've faced all year long.
Yeah, it has been. I mean, anybody that goes against San Francisco 49ers, because they are the number 1 ranked defense in the National Football League. I mean, you know who's right behind them? The Philadelphia Eagles at number 2. So this might be the best this is the best defense that the San Francisco 49ers would have faced from its totality. I mean, from everything, getting turnovers, sacking the quarterback, putting pressure on the quarterback, everything else. Yards per game, everything. So both of these offenses, I think, are in for a long day. But here's what I like about Philadelphia. And Chase and I discussed this somewhat early in the show or toward the end of he and Michelle's show. Philadelphia is the most complete team in the National Football League from an offensive standpoint. For one, they have the best offensive line in the National Football League, and that's where it all starts, in the trenches. If you have an offensive line that can block for you, more than likely you're going to have a productive offense. You might not have the number 1 offense, but you're going to have one of the most productive offenses out there, game in and game out. So it starts with the offensive line. They got one of the best offensive line. And then you look at who's underneath center. Jalen Hurts. He's having an MVP caliber season. Had he not gotten hurt, I think he would have been the leader in the MVP race. But now, he missed a few games, so that knocked him down a little bit. And maybe Mahomes or Burrow wins it, or even Jefferson, because he's in it as well. So you look at the quarterback position. Are there any flaws that we've seen this season from Jalen Hurts? No, there's no flaws. He passed the ball extremely well. He's very efficient in what he does, high percentage rates. He doesn't put this team in bad positions throwing the football. And then not only that, he runs the ball extremely well when he's asked to do that, whether it be the RPOs or just him, plays breaking down and him finding holes in defenses and scampering for, chunks of yardage. But then he also has the ability to keep everybody sort of in the game. I know last week, AJ only had like 3 catches, and you saw it. It was noticeable in AJ. He wanted the ball more.
Sure.
But he understands that one week it might be AJ, one week it might be Devontae Smith, one week it might be Goddard, the tight end, or we may throw the ball to Sanders out of the backfield. Meaning Jalen Hurts, he's mastered the art of getting everybody the ball or keeping everybody sort of satisfied within his offense, because he's doing the same thing that Joe Burrow is doing. He's finding open guys. He doesn't care who he throws it to. Just get open.
Yeah.
Because everybody's time is going to come. One week it may be A.J. Brown. One week it may be Devontae Smith. One week it may be both of them. Or one week it may be none of them but the tight end.
Well, and last week they didn't have to throw it that much.
Exactly. They
ran the heck out of the ball.
Absolutely.
That's the mark to me of a really tough offense. Is you can't cheat to any one thing.
They can beat you multiple ways.
Yes. And like you said, you need guys that can understand that and not freak out if you have a week where you only get 3 or 4 passes thrown to you, right? you understand that over time,
exactly,
you're going to get your numbers. Like A.J. Brown might have a game or two like that, but at the end of the season, he had 1,400, and he set the record for most receiving yards in a season. That definitely jumps out to me. Now, you mentioned how good Philadelphia's defense is. This is a great test for Brock Purdy here.
Yes.
Because, this is all hypothetical. I think he's a guy that's easy to root for as the underdog, right? But if he looks a little bit overmatched, and you can see where that could happen, right? Hostile environment. Maybe the weather's a little chilly. Maybe things snowball. He makes a couple of mistakes. If the last impression isn't good, I do wonder what that does throughout the offseason. As they say, only one team ends up really feeling great about their season. But if their defense plays well, but their offense can't quite figure out a really tough defense and Purdy struggles, I do wonder if that will turn him into a pumpkin a little bit more, right? Because right now he is riding this wave. He hasn't lost. He's the darling of everything. He hasn't played bad yet at all. But it's when you're like him, it's a little bit like what we saw with Stetson Bennett. There's going to be a lot of doubters, right? That as soon as you have a bad game and you're that underdog guy, like, he turned into he's not that good. I told you. It'd catch up with him sooner or later. And, it may not be – he's going to have to live with that.
Yeah, he is. And it's going to be tough for him because I don't think recent memory, I don't think he's played a team that is as aggressive and versatile in what they could do it from a defensive standpoint. They got pass rushers. I mean, they got guys that can cover. They work well within the system that they're in. You don't know where the blitz is coming from. Guys, they hold their water long enough that the quarterback can't get a beat on what they're doing. And then they're all fast and physical, and they know exactly what they're doing. I don't think Brock Purdy has faced a defense like Philadelphia. And that environment is going to be hostile. I don't think – if you haven't played in Philadelphia – you ain't played in a place. It's if you're an opposing team and you have not played in Philadelphia, whether it be in the regular season or in the playoffs, then you ain't really played because that environment is probably the most hostile environment in the National Football League for opposing teams because they're rowdy, they're loud, they're mean, and they love their team. And Philadelphia feeds off that. The defense feeds off that. And what San Fran can't do, one, they can't get behind. And then two, you can't have a lot of third and longs against Philadelphia. You just can't because not only is that defense going to get to you, that crowd is going to make it very difficult for you to run your offense. So it's going to be eye-opening, I know, for Brock Purdy, and it's going to be interesting just to see how they try to, from an offensive standpoint, how Kyle Shanahan tries to combat not only that defense but that crowd of Philadelphia.
One of these teams is going to advance to the Super Bowl without a quarterback who was picked in the first round as the, quote, franchise quarterback. Yeah. So that's an interesting dynamic to this game. And for the team that wins, everybody's going to be like, see? You can do it. You don't have to have the first overall pick to get your quarterback. And then the other way, whoever loses, like, see, I don't know. Like, especially if the quarterback doesn't play particularly well. That's why, as you always say, Derek, the quarterback gets what? Too much credit?
Exactly.
And too much blame.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk about the AFC matchup and get Derek's thoughts on that. Don't forget at 1 o'clock, the very best in the business when it comes to talking NHL, Elliot Friedman. So, that's coming up at the top of the hour. Stay tuned. We're coming back with more from here at Pete and Terry's on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase, 102.5 The Game.
Your home for MTSU basketball is 94.9 The Fan.
3-ball, yes, sir!
All the big shots and moments live here. MTSU basketball is on a station built for you. 94.9 The Fan.
Are you ready for the biggest party of the year? Nickelback with a live show unlike any other. August 1st at Bridgestone Arena. Nickelback, the Get Rollin' Tour with Brantley Gilbert, and Josh Ross. Tickets on sale Friday at 10 a.m. at livenation.com. Nickelback, produced by Live Nation.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Looking for a career with purpose or have that passion for youth development? Boys and Girls Clubs of Middle Tennessee provides a safe place where youth gain the tools to learn, lead, and reach their full potential. And that starts with you, offering competitive pay and free after-school care for employees. Learn more at bgcmt.org.
You've got advanced prostate cancer, but you're not waiting around. You want straight talk, the facts about Orgovix.
Orgovix Relagolix 120 milligram prescription tablets is a treatment for adults with advanced prostate cancer. Fact: Orgovix is a different kind of androgen deprivation therapy treatment, a pill, not an injection. Orgovix may cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing or pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovix can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during treatment and for 2 weeks after Orgovix treatment. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovix may cause infertility. Talk to your doctor if infertility is a concern for you.
Go with Orgovix. Ask your doctor. For more facts, visit gowiththefacts.com.
Start your day with a cup of Joe. Ugh, he's gonna think that's stupid.
Wait, what?
Robbie Stanley and Joe Rexroad are Robbie and Rexroad. There, that sounds better.
Thank you so much.
Weekdays from 6 to 9 on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Yeah, that's awesome.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
We're back to Pete and Terry's. Willy Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Coming up at 1 o'clock, it will be Elliot Friedman. That's going to be some excellent conversation on some hockey fronts. So, D-Mase, before we get into the AFC Championship game, tell people what you're doing this weekend. This is going to be pretty exciting.
Oh, yeah. Headed to the Boston Lakers game this weekend. My son, we try to get to at least one Laker game because, of course, everybody, if you know me, you know my son loves the Los Angeles Lakers. More importantly, he loves LeBron James.
Okay.
So it's not just the Lakers. I told him, I said, listen, I've been a Laker fan since the early 80s. You just became a Laker fan because of LeBron.
So you guys have aligned very conveniently here when he became a Laker. Yeah.
So I'm hoping that all the snow is gone because they did get some snow the last couple of days, but hopefully it's all gone and we can enjoy the Laker game.
So your son's at Boston U, so it's Lakers-Celtics in the Garden. So was that you said you went to this game last year?
Yeah. They ended up losing last year. The Lakers ended up losing. Boston won. AD will be back, Anthony Davis. So hopefully
the monobrow.
Exactly. Hopefully that gives them a spark. But they've been playing pretty good. They made a trade yesterday. They acquired a swingman, 6'8" swingman from the Wizards. I can't pronounce his last name, but he averaged 13 points per game, so he should fit right in with what the Lakers need. They need more scoring, more three-point shooting, and they need a little bit more rebounding. But they get that once AD comes back. So it'll be fun this weekend.
You and I can remember those great games in the 80s between those two teams, right?
Oh,
and
man.
there's been great documentaries
It was much-watched television when those two teams played.
It was the best. So that is one thing I wish that I had gotten to some event in the old Boston Garden.
Oh, yeah, the old parquet floor.
Yeah, I never got to go to a game there. That would have been cool.
Yeah, the whole parquet floor. I didn't get a chance to go either.
Yeah.
So we both missed out.
Did you ever? I never went to the old Forum in L.A. either. Did you ever?
Didn't get
out
a chance
that way?
to go to the Forum. I've been to the new arena. That they have.
They called it the Staples Center for so long. Now it's something else.
What is it now? I don't know.
They switched something.
But I've been in that arena twice. I've been there twice. Didn't get a chance to go to the old one. Would have loved to go to the old Boston Garden with the parquet floor. That would have been neat.
Yeah, those were the days. So I'll be curious to know what your experience is like there. Let's talk about the AFC Championship game here. Another great matchup. Mm-hmm. As I was watching the Bengals play almost the perfect game on the road to beat the Bills, I'm thinking to myself, we have just watched the day before the Chiefs win a game, but Patrick Mahomes clearly was hobbling around. And I'm thinking, the Bengals won there last year when they were a bigger underdog. Now you got Mahomes with his issue. The Bengals look like a better team. I'm thinking, but this is a lot for the Chiefs to handle here. I'm kind of leaning towards the Bengals in this game, but what do you think?
I'm going with the Bengals. Patrick Mahomes, that ankle, and he's going to play. I know he will. But it only takes, one guy to fall on your ankle. And how limited will he be? Will he be the Mahomes that can move around in the pocket, make guys miss, throw these passes off of 1 foot, jumping up in the air, throwing 20, 30 yards down the field? Will he still be able to do that? We saw some of it when he got injured, but the adrenaline was still going. Will he be with a week's rest with that ankle swelling up or whatnot? Will he still be able to go out and be Patrick Mahomes? We don't know. But what we do know is that even a 70% Patrick Mahomes is better than 99% of the NFL in regards to stacked they were from an offensive standpoint. We look at Cincinnati, they're the same way. They got 2 top-flight receivers, 2 number 1 receivers in T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Tyler Boyd isn't no slouch. This is a guy that can be a starter on a lot of teams. You got a tight end that's playing really well. And not only that, you got a run game that is underrated. Mixon is a top 5 running back in this league. And he's made for conditions like this when it's cold and things start to get a little rough. You turn around and you hand the ball off to him, and he's going to get you yardage. He proved it last week that in the snow in Buffalo against that defense, he was able to just pick up yardage after yardage. So much so, it was like they couldn't stop him. Yeah. So not only are you able to throw the ball with one of the best, if not the best quarterback this year in the National Football League, you can run the football as well with Joe Mixon. So it's going to be hard. The only apprehension I have with Cincinnati is the offensive line.
Yeah.
Can they hold up another game with all of those injuries that they've had? That offensive line is beat up. But they were able to, band together last week and play a good game. Can they do that against a very good Kansas City defense?
Another thing, going back to when the Bengals, if you remember the Bengals, it was, I'm trying to remember the date, but the last game they lost was that Monday night game against the Browns.
Was it the Browns?
It was the Browns. And they didn't look very good in that game. But it all started coming together not long after that. They've won, 10 or 11 in a row now.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just starting to come together for them when they came here and they beat the Titans. At the time, the Titans were 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
And you're thinking, after that game, pretty toe-to-toe game. Jamar Chase didn't play.
Yeah.
T. Higgins had some big games. But the thing that jumped out to both of us the day after the game was how well the Bengals did on the line of scrimmage on both sides, because that's supposed to be the wrap on them. You mentioned the offensive line. Last year was a big one. They kind of had it rebuilt. Now they've got some injuries. But on the other side, I'm thinking Patrick Mahomes with limited mobility and the way the Bengals can get after the quarterback now. They've got a pretty darn good pass rush now. You know, we saw it here against the Titans. We also saw it last week in Buffalo. They got after Josh Allen, who's not easy to contain. Josh Allen is great at escaping. But I'm curious what that looks like. If Mahomes' escapability is not quite what it normally would be, that's an interesting matchup to look for.
Well, you're going to have, those two ends coming off the line of scrimmage in Hickerson and Reeder. Those are two very good players.
Very good.
And last year when the Titans played them, I don't think they had one of the two was out one of those games. But they still were effective from a defensive standpoint, defensive line standpoint. They were able to win the game, because you could always say, well, the quarterback threw 3 interceptions, but that defensive line did play pretty well. They held Derrick Henry to under 100 yards, I believe.
That was during the slump.
Exactly.
Derrick Henry's 3 or 4 games.
No, but even
stretch.
in the playoffs, how many yards did he have?
Oh, you're talking about last year?
Yeah,
when he came back.
Exactly.
It wasn't quite the same. 60-something yards, maybe.
Absolutely. Yeah. But now they seem to be fully healthy. This defensive line is getting to the passer. So can a not 100% Patrick Mahomes, maneuver in the pocket well enough to get away from these pass rushers?
And does the running game support him at all? Because, it's not what the Chiefs want to do. They're not going to come out and say, we're going to run it right at you. They like to just kind of keep you honest. Pacheco's been pretty good. But, the same type of approach is used by the Bills, and the Bills couldn't run it very well. The Bengals took that away. So if you can – and the Titans did this. The Titans in that Sunday night game, where they almost pulled it off with Malik Willis. One of the reasons that they made it tough on the Chiefs is they completely took away the run. The Chiefs got nothing. So I think that's got to be what the game plan is for the Bengals. Don't let them run at all. Make them one-dimensional. Hopefully Mahomes isn't that mobile, and now we know where maybe he's going to be, and we can disrupt him a little bit. I think that there's a lot that looks good to me for the Bengals here.
Well, and then I think what really is sort of, for me, the deciding factor, they've beaten them before in Kansas City last year during the playoffs.
They've beaten them the last couple times in Cincinnati, too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this year's team, to me, is better than last year's team. They've been in that environment because it's tough to play in Kansas City, late in the year in the playoffs. But they beat them. They understand how to play. They understand what to do. And Joe Burrow, this kid has so much confidence right now. I think he believes he can throw the ball blindfolded and get it to whoever he wants to. And he might be right.
That's going to be something to watch. I think that's going to be a great game. And, I think we mentioned this earlier in the week, but the way the line is fluctuated, it's intriguing, right? I guess it has to do with only Mahomes' ankle, just trying to get whatever snippets of info you can get. Those odds makers.
I'm surprised
they got sources.
I'm surprised it's not a pick 'em. I think
it may end up a pick 'em
right
by the end of the week.
Right now, what is it?
Each team
Kansas
has
City
been
by
favored
1.
depending on what day you look.
Kansas City is favored by 1 right now.
Yeah, I think it's gone back to Kansas City. It started Kansas City, went Bengals, now it's back to Kansas City.
I would almost guarantee you that by game time it's a pick 'em.
I wouldn't be surprised. All right, when we come back, Elliot Friedman is going to join us. We'll talk some hockey with him. Is the salary cap going to go up next year? That has been discussed with Gary Bettman. They had a great interview on their podcast with Connor Hellebuck. We'll also find out more about what he thinks about the Predators trending in the right direction here. And one of the best stories in hockey this year has been the New Jersey Devils. They're in town tonight to play the Predators. Big game. Elliot Friedman from Sportsnet and 32 Thoughts, the podcast, joins us here in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned. We're live from Pete and Terry's, Predators and Devils tonight. This is 102.5 The Game.
Stuck at work without a radio?
Wait a minute, disastrous.
I hate that.
It's got to be there.
That's okay. Download the Game Nashville app or go to thegamenashville.com and listen live. We are Nashville's best sports talk, 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
ElectronicExpress.com. We make it happen. It's Quaz with Little Harpeth, and I'm just having one of our Chicken Scratch American Pilsners. It's one refreshing beer and a good example of the German lagers that we craft right here in Nashville. Chicken Scratch is made with locally sourced raw white corn, giving it a subtle cornbready sweetness. And speaking of sweetness, Chicken Scratch's closest associate goes by the name of Deer Crossing Hellas, also a lager with a light, crisp body and golden color, and it won us a gold medal at the Great American Beer Festival. So be on the lookout for our craft lagers. And as always, thank you for supporting our little brewery.
Hey, you think mortgage rates are still super high? Well, think again. Rates have plummeted to a 5-month low. Hey, Willy Donick here. Call my friends at Loan Pronto now to see how low rates are. It may be time to do that refinance you've been putting off, or time to get back to house hunting. If you're like a lot of people, you've got way too much credit card debt right now, and you're getting fleeced with 20+% interest charges every month, or maybe your current home rate is over 6%. So if that applies to any of you, listen, you can get a quick, easy refi at Loan Pronto. Wipe out all those cards, close in about 14 days, and cut your overall expenses by $500 a month or more. How does that sound to you? Right now, Loan Pronto is doing refis with APRs in the 4s. So call now to take advantage of this big rate drop. Get those credit cards to zero. Start that home improvement project, or get out of that 7% loan you were forced into last year. Here's the phone number, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780, or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Your Game Center update.
The Nashville Predators are back in action this evening against the New Jersey Devils with pregame at 6 and puck drop at 7 here on 102.5 The Game. The Preds announced this morning that they'll be without defenseman Alexander Carrier with an upper body injury for 4 to 6 weeks. Head coach John Hines joined Robbie and Rexroad this morning and addressed the team meeting they had after last week's loss against the St. Louis Blues.
So I think it was something that was much needed. There was a ton of substance to it. It wasn't a fluff meeting, or sometimes when guys go in and talk, it's kind of a conversation. There was some heartfelt, truthful statements that were made.
And it's conference championship weekend here in the NFL with the AFC matchup between the Cincinnati Bengals and the Kansas City Chiefs coming up on Sunday. Quarterback Joe Burrow is 3-0 against Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. And the New York Jets have hired Nathaniel Hackett as their new offensive coordinator after one season with the Denver Broncos as their head coach. And former Titans offensive line coach Keith Carter joins him on staff. I'm Nick Kieser for 102.5 and 106.3 The Game.
For more, follow us on Twitter at 1025 The Game or visit thegamenashville.com. Tonight,
a big stop by UC Saros.
Your Nashville Predators take on the New Jersey Devils. Coverage begins at 6 on your home for Smashville. WPRT FM Peagrove, WBUC HD2 Laverne, 1025 and 1063 The Game.
A Cromwell Media Station.
Covering your teams and the news of the day.
Ladies and gentlemen,
this is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
Who is pleasant to listen to.
With Caroline Fenton, Willy Donick, and former NFL wide receiver Derek Mason.
You are hands down my favorite radio personality of all time.
On 1025 and 1063 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
With no further ado,
welcome into the final hour of Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. We're here at Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Willy Donick, Derek Mason here with you. Caroline is off today and tomorrow. She'll be back with us on Monday. We've also got the reporter, Nick Kieser, back at the studio, and he wants in. We're going to talk to our special guest, Elliot Friedman. And Elliot, just so you know, you're such a popular guest. Nick Kieser asked, he said, can I ask Elliot a question since Caroline isn't here today? So He will be weighing in, just so you know. So be prepared for this up-and-coming star.
He warned me.
Yes, we have given you full warning. So let me start it with this, Elliot. I was listening this morning, you and Jeff Merrick had a great conversation with Connor Hellebuck. It's really interesting to hear a goalie talk shop, if you will, really in depth about some of the nuances of the position. And he was just through here the other day, a great goaltender battle between two of the best, Hellebuck and UC Saros, and Nashville came out on top 2-1. But Hellebuck is an interesting character here, and I would recommend a lot of people go back and listen. But what jumped out at you most when he was talking?
Well, I liked when he talked about who are the biggest pains in the butt in front of the net.
Yes.
Then he said Corey Perry, Jamie Benn, and the Kachuk brothers. I like that too. I think for a lot of us,
Like I always say, like I've been doing, when I really entered the business, was the last time a Canadian team won the Stanley Cup, the Montreal Canadiens in 1993. And I say it a lot, before I get thrown out of the sport, I would like to cover a Canadian team winning the Cup. I don't care which one it is. I just want to see one of them win it. And so, 2018 was their trip to the Stanley Cup final, and I know it's not a great memory for Predators fans because the Jets knocked you out in your division final. But some of the stuff talking about that, like, Derek, like you could probably really appreciate this. I was told by one teammate of Hellebuck's, they played Game 7 against Nashville in Nashville, and one of the Jets players told me that after the warm-up, they knew there was no way they were losing that night. That Hellebuck was so dialed in and had such a great warm-up that guys skated off that ice and they said, "We're winning tonight." And and the way he talked about that, I love, like there's sometimes when you're an elite level athlete that you're so dialed in and nothing's going to go wrong for you. I love it when a top player can walk out of a warm-up or a practice or right before a game and can say, "This is our night and we're going to win." I just love that kind of stuff.
It was so interesting to hear him talk about that because after they won that game, of course it was shattering for everybody here. They got the two early goals, kind of strange goals against Pecorine, and they pulled Pecorine, and they just it never really got to the climax of what you would hope for a Game 7 at home. But after that, I would have been 100% convinced. I'm sure I did on the air. I was sure that the Jets were going to follow up and win the next round for sure, and probably win the Cup. And it, like he said, it's just sort of it turned all of a sudden. I could not believe they went down. Of course, Vegas made a lot of believers out of non-believers, like all year long. First year in the league, like what is going on here? But I was sure the Jets were going to win it.
They ran out of steam. It's that simple. Sometimes it happens. You have the big victory, and then you get the come down, and I think that's what happened in that particular series.
Tell me this, Elliot. I know the commissioner had some interesting things to say the other day.
Yeah.
One of them, he said teams don't tank, and of course he's got his argument, right, of how he does it. It does make sense if you listen to it in detail, but we all know that he's trying to calm down a thing that is very widely suspected, right? That you set your team up knowing you're trying to get yourself, and we've talked about it with you a lot. It's a very special draft this year.
Yep.
So what do you think? What do you make of him just trying to make that argument, knowing that he knows that everybody is going to have a hard time buying that?
Well, sometimes he says things, and we know it's not true or it's craziness, and he knows it's craziness, but he says them anyway. And one of the things I've learned with Bettman is that sometimes he's not talking to us, he's talking to other people out there. Like, we may be asking him the questions, but he is not answering the questions to us. He's answering them to sponsors, or he's answering them to fans, or things like that. And I asked someone about this the other day. Like, I said to someone, why does he say this? And someone sent me a note. Did you guys see what happened in that Miami Heat basketball game the other night where the Jimmy Butler fan bought the ticket and he wasn't playing, and the fan said, "I spent like $500 to the game or whatever tonight, and Jimmy Butler's not playing." And the NBA and Butler, in its wisdom, they turned it into a really good story where the fan got a chance to meet Butler and got the picture taken with him, and they made the best out of a really tough situation. But the NBA has a big problem right now with load management. Like, there's too many games right now, particularly if a player like a Steph Curry or a LeBron, they're only going to some cities once a year. You buy your tickets and you never know who's going to play, right?
You've seen this, Derek.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
In fact, Elliot, it's interesting you mentioned that. Derek was just talking about he's going up to see his son, who goes to college at Boston U, they're going to see the Lakers and the Celtics. And I could remember they had this conversation earlier in the week. Yeah, we think Anthony Davis is going to play. We think LeBron's going to play. But you have to sort of gauge that when you set something at. You don't know.
You have no idea. And I think what Bettman is saying is we are a gate-driven league. We want people buying our tickets. And I think that's what he's saying. He's like, he's not giving. He will never say anything that gives people reason not to buy a ticket. That's what I think it is. Even though we all think, right, he's just saying that.
The other thing that was noteworthy, and I'm sure every GM is dying to know, when are they going to get this answer one way or the other, is next year's salary cap. Tell us what he said there and what you make of it.
Well, next year's salary cap, it doesn't sound like it's going to be going up very much. It sounds like it's only going to be the $1 million. I was surprised when he even said earlier in the year it could be more than that. It's not like him to do things like that, but I just think it's going to be a tight cap, and then we'll go up in a year from now. I think there could be room for the two sides to hammer it out. But I think Bettman is for a bigger increase this year. But I think Bettman would ask for a lot from it and potentially things the players would not want to do. So I'm not expecting it. So I think this is going to be another tight summer for the cap. I mean, the other thing too, guys, there's a story coming down now where it's not one that a lot of us are really familiar with. I would guess, Willie, you probably have a bit more knowledge about it than most. This whole thing with the Bally Sports and the Diamond Sports, it doesn't only affect the NHL, it affects NBA and Major League Baseball too. And we're just all trying to figure out, what's this going to mean? Is there a chance that this is going to cause a problem? So I think that nobody's really expecting there to be a big bump this year unless it's negotiated. And right now I kind of see a hard path towards that.
Now, Elliot, obviously the All-Star game is All-Star break is coming up pretty soon here. I think the Predators, they got a game tonight, and I think they got one more before the break. Am I right, Willie?
Yep, this is the last
one more for the break. And the break is a long break, and coming from my world, you only get at a bye week is only not even a week to sort of get away and decompress. But in the NHL, you get almost 2 weeks. And for a team like the Nashville Predators, who seem to have somewhat figured things out. They've been playing pretty well. They're 6-4 in their last 10 games. They had their player-only meeting, and it seems like it worked. They came out and they played extremely well. How does this affect the team that seemed to have, gotten everything sort of right, and they're playing well, and then all of a sudden you go into this long break?
Well, you always like the long break when you're playing terribly, and you don't like it when you're playing well. So they probably don't like it as much right now. But you're going to have to deal with it. Every team has to deal with it. Everybody gets it. So you hope that everybody goes, they get some rest, and they come back fired up for the post All-Star performance. I mean, I'll tell you this one. Derek, you never want to be in a situation where your last game before the break is a stinker. And you've got a really tough opponent coming in there in New Jersey. They're a heck of a team. You never want your last game to be a stinker because then everybody's annoyed about it, and it just kind of sits with you there until you come back and play. And so that's what I bet. I bet that everybody's going to be riled up to play. Because I think you're going to sit there and say, okay, if we end our first half of the season poorly, that's going to stick with us over our break.
Now they're going to be missing for the next 4 to 6 weeks. Carrier, one of their defensemen. Yeah. What do you think this means for the team? Now he's not one of their top line defensemen, but he still contributes to the team a lot.
I think it's a big loss. I do. I like Carrier's game. I think he's a really talented young guy. I agree with you. He's not the sexiest name, but he is he's a player that you can depend on. He's steady. He's solid. You can see the coach for the most part really trusts him. I always say this though: one man's injury is another man's opportunity. and somebody's going to have to step up. There's minutes now. Carrier plays. He plays quite a bit. It's going to be someone's opportunity. You hate to lose him, but somebody's got to take the chance to step up.
And Elliot, did you see how it happened? They said after the game, early in the game, they're down 1-0 in the first minute. Cody Glass, of course, from Winnipeg, he gets run over by Logan Stanley, who's 6'7".
Did he get hurt in the fight?
He got hurt in the fight. 5'11" versus 6'7". So it's like, hey,
I like
unbelievable heart. I love the heart, but oh boy.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because the other night Chicago played in Vancouver, and one of the Chicago guys got run over, and Max Domi went to fight the Vancouver guy, and he got 17 minutes in penalty. Now, he didn't get hurt, but Chicago has trouble scoring, and they lost one of their best forwards for 17 minutes. And they asked Luke Richardson about it, the coach of the Blackhawks, and he said, well, I'm never going to argue with the guy standing up for one of his teammates, but I don't like to lose him. I'm sure John Hines is thinking about the exact same thing there. Who else was on the ice at the time? Was there anybody else who should have been fighting?
No, it was the top line. So it would be Glass, Forsberg, Duchesne, Carrier, Ekholm. So I think.
Yeah, that's a tough one then.
That's
because you can't look at someone else and say you should have done it. So, I mean, it's just a bad break. It's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
So Elliot Friedman has been our guest here this afternoon. Elliot, I know that we saw one small trade last night between Colorado and San Jose, albeit that was a minor deal. What could we see as far as maybe the market heating up here in the next few weeks? Do you think Nashville makes more of a depth move as opposed to maybe making something big happen?
Well, I think it's starting to loosen. I think there's starting to be more talk, but there's still a lot of there's still a lot of teams that are close to the cap or in long-term injury. So I still think it's hard. I think I say this all the time. Players decide. Your GM, he's not afraid, but he's going to let the Predators determine what he does. And, you guys have some time off, and then after that's over, you're going to have a month before the trade deadline to figure out where you are. And I think the Predators' results will determine. He's not going to add if he doesn't think it's worth it, unless it's a player he thinks they're going to have for a long time. So I think how you guys play between now and the deadline is going to determine that.
Nick, good stuff. Hey, how'd the rookie do, Elliot? Good question there.
They ask better questions than I do. That's
so there you go, Nick. Clip that and keep that recording for your file. Okay, good job. Hey, Elliot, as always, great to catch up with you. Enjoy your work, and we'll talk to you again here very soon.
All right, guys. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Yep, all right. Elliot Friedman, 32 Thoughts, the podcast. He and Jeff Merrick, always a great heartbeat of what's going on around the NHL. When we come back, we'll have more from Pete and Terry's here on 102.5 The Game.
White 85! Every team needs a quarterback.
White 85! Take!
That's why we have
Hasselbeck, bootleg, rollout, toss, touchdown!
Tim.
You can run good plays at the right time.
ESPN NFL analyst Tim Hasselbeck gives his expertise on all things NFL.
You evaluate players, and then you're turning them over to the coaching staff.
Every Tuesday at noon.
At the right time.
With Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Tim on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Hey, Robbie Stanley here, and if you've been watching the NFL playoffs from the sideline, there's still time to get in the game with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. New customers bet this Sunday's conference championship games with $150 in free bets guaranteed when you place your first $5 bet. All you have to do is sign up with promo code ROB. There's something special about Joe Burrow and the Bengals. I'm going with them on the road to take down Kansas City. But you take it any way you want to take it. FanDuel has all your favorite bets from the money line to point spreads to player props. Plus, you can even combine your bets for a chance at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. All that on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. So football fans, don't miss out. Place your first $5 bet to get $150 in free bets, win or lose, with promo code ROB. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older and present in Tennessee. First online real money wager only. $10 first deposit required. Bonus issued is non-withdrawable free bets. It expires in 14 days. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Got a gambling problem? Please call the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
Preds fans, you coming out for tonight's big game? The pre-party action is at Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville, steps away from Bridgestone Arena. Enjoy great specials like $3 off any appetizer in the bar area and $20 bucket specials on Bud, Bud Light, Mick Ultra, and Landshark beer. A sports TV viewing mecca, the Landshark Bar and Grill is a Lower Broadway must-see. That's the Landshark Bar and Grill in Margaritaville on the corner of 4th Avenue and Broadway. Stop in before the Preds game tonight.
Hey, it's Mike from Newton Nissan. It's a new year, so I thought I would share my personal resolution with you. My resolution is to be able to hula hoop on the trampoline for 1 minute. This might be painful. Since I've had years of practice making resolutions, I thought I'd give you some tips on making yours. It should involve 3 key components. First, make it something new, like texting without using your thumbs. Second, make it easy, like reading more, or at least turning the subtitles on while binge watching Netflix. And third, make sure no matter what, that you buy your next new car from Newton. We want to make your purchase fast and easy with Newton FastPass. We'll even deliver the car to you. Remember, new, easy, and buy at Newton. I have a feeling this next year is going to be great. Shop at newtonnissan.com to start your resolution today. See website for details. Put your resolutions in writing.
Hey, it's Hutton. Interest rates are rising, but not at Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Replace your old unit fast before new regulations increase prices up to 20%. Get a new unit today at today's price and receive up to $1,500 off or get 18 months of no payments. That's right, no payments until summer 2024. At Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, all new systems come with a 10-year parts and labor warranty. Spring Hill Heating and Cooling, servicing southern Middle Tennessee. Schedule your appointment now at springhillac.com. That's springhillac.com.
Want to see our smiling faces? You can watch us on Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook Live.
We are good to go.
Presented by Superbook Sports, voted #1 sportsbook in Vegas. This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Back here on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase from Pete and Terry's Tavern at Bridgestone Arena. Predators and Devils tonight. Devils 31-12-4. 66 points, 4th most in the entire league. Now, what we thought we'd do in these next couple of segments here is just kind of let's get some calls on our phone line, our text line. You're welcome to get that going with us. Whatever's on your mind here. But I know we got a lot of them earlier that we didn't get to earlier in the show. We're going to cover a few of those. But if you want to join in, 615-737-1025. That's 615-737-1025. We want to hear from you. Titans issues, like we've been batting these around. We know the obvious issues with the Titans. We've hit them a lot this week. What's on your mind with them? GM search. I mean, the new GM, the offensive coordinator search, potential moves with the salary cap, trying to improve the team, matchups in the AFC, NFC championship games, Predator questions, we welcome those. Even some college hoops, some interesting games that went on last night. Tennessee, another easy win. Alabama got tested last night at home. They pulled out a win. So whatever's on your mind, 615-737-1025. Jump on in there. So, Derek, how would you assess the rookie in the question to
it was great,
Elliot Freeman?
Man.
Pretty good job.
It was great.
Yeah, he's
straight to the point.
So now, can we now shed the rookie tag and now he's the reporter, Nick Keyser? What do you think?
Yeah, I think after last segment what he displayed,
Well, Willie, you're
he's
the one that
full-fledged.
dubbed it, so I think you have to decide.
Yeah, he's full-fledged.
And also, I'm waiting on my rookie trophy or something along the lines of that because I've been hearing that for about 6 months now.
Nick, I just want to tell you this. I've been waiting on my my jacket, my retirement, my Hall of Fame jacket.
That's true.
And I still haven't gotten
From
it.
3D.
So, from 3D.
Yeah.
So you might not get your trophy for a while.
Yeah, yep. And we're still waiting on some votes, Nick, on the Rookie of the Year producer.
Fair enough.
Yep.
Fair enough.
So that should be out shortly, though. So
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay. Hey, and I really think Derek will end up with that Hall of Fame jacket as opposed to the 3D jacket.
Yeah, I'll take them both.
Are they both gold?
No, the other one's red.
Yeah, one's red, the other's gold.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
But I take them both.
Let's talk here. 615-737-1025. One of the topics that we hit earlier in the show was the whole issue of how much can you control, how many injuries your team has, right? And that was something that with the Titans having serious injury issues this year especially, but both last year and this year, a lot of people have called into question, what are the Titans doing there? How much can they improve in this area? What do you actually do? So here's one from Kyle from earlier in the show. What do you say about the training medical staff when A.J. Brown stayed healthy this year, Roger Saffold, even David Quesenberry played almost a full season on other teams this year? Again, to me, that sounds a little cherry-picking to me, but I can see where Titans fans get frustrated, right? Because it's just frustrating in general.
Yeah, it is. I can understand it. When your star players are not there, for points within the schedule or games within the schedule, and then their backups end up getting hurt, or those same, as Vrabel calls it, repeat offenders, they end up showing up on the injured list more times than not. I don't think it's you can put it all on the training staff. I think ultimately it comes down to the player. Are you doing the necessary things? Because Vrabel even said, hey, listen, you don't see Kevin Byard getting injured. You don't see him having hamstring issues. And the same training staff that's dealing with Kevin Byard is dealing with the guys that are having those issues. So there has to be, some of it, I think majority of it has to be on the individual player. What are you doing within that week to make sure that you're ready to go come, whether it be a Thursday game, Sunday game, or a Monday game? Are you doing everything necessary to make sure that you will be ready to play in those games? So it's not all on the training staff. It's on the individual person as well.
Here's another one that's an interesting question because, as we know, Patrick Mahomes has the, quote, high ankle sprain, as did Ryan Tannehill. So Garrison asks on our text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com, look at Mahomes' recovery right now. He's back up just a few days later. So you're like, hey, Ryan Tannehill missed a couple games. Well, how come Patrick Mahomes is able to play? But no two injuries are the same, and also we're talking about an AFC Championship game as opposed to regular season, right? Those are some variables.
People are missing that. People listen. In the regular season, had Patrick Mahomes gotten hurt, he wouldn't have came back out and played that game. Andy Reid would have said, no, you're not coming. Chad Henne is good enough to lead us. We can win this game with Chad Henne, and we can win another game with Chad Henne. So, no, you sit on the sidelines and you get healthy. But because it's a playoff game, then there's no next week if we don't win. So you got to be out here. And I'm pretty sure had Ryan Tannehill been in the playoffs and that injury had occurred, he would have came back out and tried to play. That's what I want to believe, because even during the season when he came back and he re-injured it, what did he do? He went to the tent, did whatever he needed to do, but he knew his team needed him at that point. So he came back out and finished the game.
Yeah, he did it in that Colts game,
exactly,
too.
He did it in the Colts game, too. So, like you said, Willie, all injuries aren't the same, and all situations within the season are not the same. That happens to Ryan Tannehill in the playoffs. I believe he's coming back out and trying to give it a go.
Yes, and we also let's wait and see what Mahomes does look like. Mm-hmm. I know they're saying all the right things, positive things, but I do think he will be compromised in this game. I think he's going to have to tough it out. A high ankle sprain is tough to come back from without missing a lot of time. It takes a long time to heal. And I think even if they get through this game, he will still be affected by it in the Super Bowl, even with the week off. All right, here's what we got next on the text line. What is the Predators' salary cap situation? Well, last year, if you go back to it, the Predators intentionally sort of left some room in the salary cap. They didn't see anything that they really liked. They decided to sort of roll with a lot of the young players that were having their first real full 82-game season in the league. which would include guys like Alex Carrier, like Tanner Jeannot, guys like that. And so they did not reinforce the roster. They used that space to sign Nino Niederreiter and Ryan McDonough. That took up a lot of the remaining cap space that they had. So they don't have nearly the room that a lot of other teams lead. In fact, they're up against it so much. That was a factor, not the only factor, but that was a factor when they got the rash of injuries. They had some salary cap things that led to the Eeli Tolvanen getting waived, right? That sort of forced their hand a little bit there. So they don't have a ton of room to go add a bunch if that's what happens. But we're still a few weeks away from the trading deadline. My guess is right now, though, even if they wanted to, they would not be able to add a lot of payroll. They don't have a lot of room, so we'll see how that goes. Next up, it looks like – is this right, Nick? I'm not looking up here. Have the Panthers officially hired Frank Reich, or is this guy just speculating? We have no name on the text line.
I have not checked, but I can go check.
I know he's interviewed a couple of times. And I remember this, Derek. This would have been –
Yes, it is. It's breaking news. Panthers chose Wright over Wilkes to be new head coach.
Wow. I got mixed feelings about that. Everybody, and we have the benefit here. There's a couple of people, Pete Weber being number one, go way back in Buffalo sports history, right? Frank Reich had a great run for the Bills. So Pete knows Frank Reich very well. Everybody who knows him seems to really like him as a person. So as a person, I'm glad he gets another shot. I can't help, though, and I don't know anything about Steve Wilkes, but it's got to be frustrating for him because I thought he gave that team some life as the interim coach. He actually got them somewhat in contention.
Position, had they beat Tampa, they go to the playoffs.
Yeah, they were in it.
Yeah.
And so it's got to stink for him that he doesn't get the job.
Yeah, it does. And then, but, you look at Frank Wright and do you think, the whole tenure there in Indianapolis was he at a situation in Indianapolis where he could thrive as a head coach, knowing, Irsay, what he was doing with the quarterback situation and everything else. You just never know. But, he had his opportunity at Indianapolis. It didn't go quite as well toward the end. They were playing quarterback shuffle. And now he gets a job with the Panthers. So, congrats to him. But then where does Wilkes go? This is the second time, he's been the guy that replaced the coach in the middle of the season. And, he's gotten the team to play for him. It didn't work out quite as well with the Cardinals. But it seemed like it worked out a lot better here in Carolina, but they chose to go a different route.
615-737-1025. We're taking your calls and texts driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Stay tuned. We'll have more from Pete and Terry's here on 102.5 The Game.
The offseason is underway for the Tennessee Titans, but the work has just begun for the two-tone blue.
The offensive line, as badly as they need another weapon, you have to fix left guard and left tackle.
For all the news and moves, keep it locked right here.
Talking Titans?
We are 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Men, listen up. I need to tell you something about Cool Springs MD. Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances. And Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and his wife, Daphne, along with that exceptional and experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life. Cool Springs MD have already helped many men of Brentwood, Nashville, and the surrounding areas in Tennessee with improving their immune system because it is getting cold out there, people. And it's the season where, you get a little sick every now and then. Energy levels, cognitive functions, and more. They are there to connect you with the medical care you require to have a healthy and enriched life. There's no better time now to achieve a healthy lifestyle, men. What are you waiting for? Give Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment like I did. And here's the number, 615-486-3458. That's 615-486-3458. Or visit our website at coolspringsmd.com.
Now is a fantastic time to sell in Nashville, but you can't do it without the intel. And no one has better intel than the Gary Ashton team. You may be wondering, what is this intel I keep hearing about? Intel so you can sell your home without any staging or showings. Intel on where to find your next home so you can sell your current one while the market's hot. Intel that helps you win the buyer battle and cash in on your home equity now. Everyone else is getting the same information and competing for the same properties. GaryAshton.com gives you the edge with the best real estate intel in Nashville. No one else even comes close. Plus, the Gary Ashton team is the official real estate agent for the Preds. Get the confidence to sell your home and find your dream address without the stress. Call the Gary Ashton team with RE/MAX Advantage today at 615-301-1650 or visit GaryAshton.com. And remember, don't sell without the intel.
Want to kick off the new year without any credit card debt? If that sounds good to you, you can do it with Loan Pronto's Express Equity line of credit. Wipe out all those credit card bills right now. Hey, Willy Donick here. Rates are down, and it's a great move to get on more solid financial footing for the new year. You don't have to do a full home refi. You can tap a portion of the equity you have and enjoy a rate that's a whole lot less than what the banks charge on credit cards. With Loan Pronto's Express Equity credit line, you can close in 7 to 10 days. You can access up to 95% of your home's equity. Use that money to pay off those high-interest credit card loans of any type. Credit cards, personal loans, car loans, whatever. Consolidate everything into one easy payment. Even if you did a whole total refi last year, you can tap the equity with this fast, easy program and keep your main loan intact. Call Loan Pronto, 615-499-5780. That's 615-499-5780 or go to loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval.
Can't get enough Vanderbilt basketball?
Intercepted right all by himself for a one-hand flush.
Your home for the Commodores is 93.3 Classic Hits.
Put it up. It's good. Count it.
Join Coach Jerry Stackhouse and his team on their journey through the SEC.
Pulls a trigger. Yes, from three.
Check out Vandy Hoops on 93.3 Classic Hits and the Classic Hits app.
Hey Nashville, this is Vanderbilt football head coach Clark Lee. You're listening to Nashville's best sports talk, ESPN 102.5 The Game, and the Game Nashville app.
We're coming down the home stretch here on Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase. Caroline Fenton off today and tomorrow. Back with us on Monday. Willy Donick, Derek Mason here from Bridgestone Arena at Pete and Terry's Tavern. Predators and Devils tonight. Big test for the Predators. Final game before the All-Star break. Devils' fourth best record in the NHL. All right, we're taking some calls and texts here. Our phone and text line driven by WilsonCountyHyundai.com. Let's go to Nate, who is on the line. Nate, welcome.
What's up, guys?
What's going on?
As always, the Elliott interview is always insightful. I have a question about the interview. Part of the cap situation, he said, is part of it is due to Bowie Sports. And I had no idea what was going on until I looked it up. What is happening?
Well, I don't know if that's a direct thing on that will affect the cap, but I guess it does go into sort of the overall structure of league revenues. And I think what you're referring to is the parent company that owns and operates the Bally family of teams. And we're talking about they have a number of hockey teams, Nashville being one of them. They have a number of baseball broadcasts and a number of NBA broadcasts. So the parent company is struggling there. There have been reports, and I don't know the very, very latest, but I know that there have been some struggles on what is going to happen, a lot of speculation. So, I don't know specifically what's going to happen there, but there have been a lot of different things that have been proposed on what to do if it doesn't work out, if they have to declare bankruptcy or something like that. But, there's always going to be a demand and a need to broadcast the team's games. So it's not like these channels are going to go dark and the games won't be on. They will figure something out. But I do think revenues could be affected, and who's running the show when it all does shake out will be effective. And I know it also affects, Nate, what we hear from a lot of our fans and our listeners, that they'd like a more diverse way to be able to see the games, right? As I want to see it on YouTube TV, or I want to see it on Hulu, or this or that. I've got this. This is my package. Why can't I have the games that I want on this package? I know that's a big question that a lot of people are dealing with. So hopefully this ends up getting worked out in a positive way.
Well, comparing it to the NFL, I know the NFL deals are just TV deals are ridiculous. How is the NFL TV contract and NHL TV contract compared when it comes to, I guess, the overall not structure of the league, but the player contracts and all of that? Because it seems like NFL TV deals kind of dictate that a little more.
Yeah, the national rights, that recently got picked up by TNT and ESPN. That started last year. That's higher than it's ever been. So the league is thrilled with that, and that does help overall in the salary cap. As we talked about earlier in the show, one of the issues for the salary cap is still all of those games that affected the end of 2020, the 1920 season, the 2021 season, and even part of last season, especially, in Canada, they were very, very slow to bring back the fans. So there was a lot of revenue lost there. So that's affecting the salary cap more than anything else. But from a television revenue standpoint, on the national level, it's very, very good. Now, that being said, Nate, when you compare it to football,
it's
not even close. Yeah, it's not even close, and it never will be, right? But relatively speaking, they're moving in a really good direction there. I guess, Nate, thanks for your call.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the call, Nate. I mean, you're talking two different sports. Unfortunately, the NHL, for whatever reason, I mean, people don't, from the masses, people don't look at, football the same way they look at hockey. I think, football is more of it's the number one sport in the U.S. So everybody wants a piece of it, whether it be through, sponsorships, endorsements. Everybody wants a piece of the NFL. So when you get these new television deals, they're going to be in the billions, and they're going to pay you a lot of money just so football games can be aired because people love watching football. And people love watching hockey, but I think if you're talking about from a macro, I think, people lean more toward football than anything else. That's basketball, baseball, anything else.
Got one more on the text line here. This is from Troy. He calls himself Troy, not Tony. He's a loyal listener that texts us a lot. We always know who it is when he puts that on there. I would be interested in knowing how many injuries in football are self-inflicted injuries, and how does that compare to injuries that are sort of out of your control, players rolling up? You always see sometimes the offensive lineman's engaged. Somebody just gets thrown into his leg, and all of a sudden he gets hurt. So things that are sort of out of your control. How would you answer that?
I would be interested to know what it is,
I'd love to see some stats on that. I've never really seen any research on that.
I haven't seen anything that has been out recently, but I'm sure the NFL has done their homework on, however they break it down or however they classify it, whether it's, injuries that are self-inflicted
or non-contact
injuries.
Like there was a guy in hockey the other day who he was all by himself on the ice and he re-injured. He blew out his Achilles for the second time. There's nobody near him.
Exactly.
That happens sometimes with ACLs, right?
Exactly. It happened with ACLs. It happened with Achilles, hamstring. So how many of those are – I think that's how they would be classified as contact injuries and non-contact injuries. I wonder what is the ratio between those two? I mean, that's a good question.
It's a great question. I don't know if we have the answer here, but like for your own experience, like you were one that was known for your durability. You
like every time I got hurt,
if you got dinged up,
it was somebody hit me, or somebody fell on me. I didn't get hurt by just running and hamstring, Achilles. Thank God I didn't, or an ACL. My injuries usually came from I'm getting tackled, somebody hits me, and, there goes I tear my ACL. Well, I sort of did tear my meniscus when I went up for a pass. It was in practice when I went for a pass. Someone was near me, but they were not the reason why I tore my meniscus. I ended up turning the wrong way, but my foot was still planted. and ended up tearing. So, yeah, I would wonder, what is the, non-contact and contact injuries? What's the numbers?
I do not know. I do know this. That looks like the TSU band.
That is the TSU band.
The Aristocata bands. They're marching through the streets of downtown Nashville. They're getting everybody's attention. I'm not sure what they're doing.
They're better than me because it's too cold out there, man.
you got to have the gloves if you got the drums going today or you're playing the trumpet. All right, but that's good. So you're hearing the rumbling in the background. It's they are rolling, the Tigers over there. When we come back, I have a referee officiating question on two fronts that I'm going to throw out there. We always we vent about these things. I've got one on the football front. I've got one on the basketball front. Rules that I would like to see emphasized, not necessarily change the rules, but call it a little bit differently. When we come back, we'll talk about that in the final segment. Stay tuned. You're listening to 102.5 The Game.
Every Wednesday at noon.
That fits the mentality of what they're going to do.
Outkick 360's Jonathan Hutton joins Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase to talk all things Titans and NFL.
Much more creative in how you go about calling certain plays.
He's got opinions and insights on the two-tone blue.
That doesn't mean that you can't have great or don't need great quarterback play.
Catch Hutton every Wednesday at noon on 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
The playoffs are in full swing, and Electronic Express is bringing you show-stopping deals. Come into any of our convenient locations and save big on 4K TVs from your favorite brands like Samsung, LG, Sony, TCL, Hisense, and more. Electronic Express has huge savings in every department. 4K TVs, computers, appliances, housewares, gaming, and more. Save up to 40% with up to 36 months free financing. Get big game ready in-store or online at electronicexpress.com. Electronic Express, we make it happen.
At Genesis Diamonds, it's not just a new year. It's a new opportunity to bring you more choices, more value, more ways to celebrate your love. So we've expanded our selection of exquisite hand-picked diamonds from a half carat to 15 carats, all shapes, all sizes, all at our famous no middleman prices. This year especially, we know price matters, and we're committed to delivering the best value every day. We've also brought in even more exclusive designer jewelry, new cutting-edge fashion-forward rings, earrings, bands, bracelets, pendants, things you can't find anywhere else. And of course, Genesis is proud to offer a truly spectacular collection of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. We have all the most popular models in stock with no wait list and no restrictions. Is this the year you reward yourself with a premier name and timepieces? Come to Genesis in 2023 and let our non-commissioned experts help you celebrate those important milestones. We guarantee the best value, the highest quality, and the strongest warranties and guarantees in the jewelry industry. Genesis Diamonds and luxury pre-owned Rolexes.
Hey, it's Jared. Are you looking to move? If so, do yourself a favor and reach out to my friends at TriStar Moving. You can be assured your move will be stress-free because they've got new utility vans to help with pack jobs to separate your high-value or fragile items from the bulk of your furniture, and their movers are carefully picked and highly trained. No one in the game is doing this. TriStar Moving is raising the standard in the moving industry. When you're ready to move, give them a call. TriStar Moving, 615-640-1219, or online at nationalmoving.org/radio, and tell them Jared Stillman referred you for 10% off. That's TriStar Moving.
Losing your hair? It's Chase McCabe. No matter your age, gender, or type of hair loss, it's never a good feeling when you see too much hair in your brush or you begin to notice bald spots. For 45 years, Hair Club has helped more than 500,000 members get hair they love. If you're affected by hair loss and not sure what to do, let Hair Club help customize a solution for you. For a limited time, get 10% off when you book a free consultation today and get started at hairclub.com/chase. That's hairclub.com/chase.
One is smart.
This has just been a constant trend for this team.
One is funny.
That's right.
Funny looking, maybe. Chase and Michelle with Chase McCabe and Michelle Knezovic.
Are you listening?
I'm listening.
Everybody's listening.
Weekdays from 9 to 11. Presented by Hair Club. Hair Club. Love your hair. Live your life. On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app. Having some fun in the midday.
Okay, that's really fun.
This is Caroline, Willy, and D-Mase.
It's a good source of energy because it's live.
On 102.5 and 106.3 The Game and the Game Nashville app.
Final segment here on 102.5 The Game. Caroline, Willie, and D-Mase here with you. So, one thing we've got to do before we get out of here, we're going to give you a chance. If you're listening right now, just be caller number 3, and you can go to the SAD Summer Festival with Taking Back Sunday, Motion City Soundtrack, The Main, and more. It's at Ascend Amphitheater on Sunday, July 23rd. So if you're interested, call it up. 615-737-1025. No trivia today. Just got to call. You don't have to know anything. That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to know a single thing. just how to dial the number. 615-737-1025.
Just get it every phone call right now.
That's right. It's perfect. All right. So here are my two things. Watching the college game last night. Good game. Mississippi State at Alabama. I was curious. Alabama is very, very good. Top 5 team right now. Mm-hmm. And Mississippi State led the game in Tuscaloosa for 30, 35 minutes. I mean, they were right in there all the way to the end. Alabama sort of gutted it out in a game where they didn't shoot it very well. But I watched this late in the game, and I've seen this a few times now. Mississippi State shooting free throws. Now, way back when in the days of Wilt Chamberlain, there was really no rule about 3 seconds. There was no rule about specifically shooting the free throw other than you had to be behind the line when you shoot it. And so Wilt Chamberlain would literally leap. He wasn't a great free throw shooter, right? So he would leap and get as close to the rim as he could before he laid it in. Now, the other thing that happens, too, they also created 3 seconds because of Wilt Chamberlain, right?
Yeah.
Just standing in the middle like that. So they created the lane.
Oh,
so
Wilt.
he was responsible for rule changes. So the rule is when you're shooting a free throw, you can't step over the line until the ball hits the rim. Right? It's been like that forever. I've noticed the referees have gotten very lazy on free throw shooters, and I saw a Mississippi State free throw shooter hit 2 foul shots last night where he released the ball, and then before the ball went in, before it hit the rim, he stepped over the line. And a lot of people, the refs are just kind of blowing it off, kind of like they blow off traveling a lot of times. Like, come on, man.
Like,
Pay
what
attention.
are you doing?
Like, people say, well, what's the big deal? The guy didn't gain an advantage. Well, yeah, but the rule is put in for a reason. Like, at the end of a game, if I need to miss a free throw, right, I am not allowed to shoot it and then run right down the middle and get my own rebound. I can't. If I could throw it off the rim, I have to wait till it hits the rim before I go get it. I can get my own rebound, but I can't just shoot it and run in there
and get it. Yeah, I got the advantage because I know when I'm shooting it. Yeah.
So that's why that rule's in there. So call the rule. Now here's the other one. In this happened in the Bengals game, and it's happened a million times. The whole issue, and they bring on our man Gene Sarator. Gene, what do you think? He says the same thing every time. The play clock is running down.
Yeah, that
and there's this whole thing about, there's got to be a beat. Yes, it was at 0 when the ball was snapped, but, it's just a natural beat. Well, what the heck is a natural beat?
Yeah.
In sports, if I'm shooting a buzzer beater and the clock hits 0 and the horn goes off, you don't say, he didn't quite. But there's a natural beat after it hits 0.
If the ball is still in his
hand. If it's in my hands and the red light goes on, the buzzer goes off, it's it.
Yeah.
It's over. Why can't we have that in football? Let's have a horn on the play clock if we have to. If it hits 0 and the ball hasn't started to move, it's a penalty. That's not that hard.
It seemed like it's gotten worse in this playoffs. I've seen it several times. Heck, Joey Bosa ended up getting a penalty because of it, because he felt the tackle jumped the snap, and that gave him an advantage, and it should have been a false start on him, or it should have been a delay of game, and they didn't call it. For whatever reason, they're not making those calls like they have been in the past.
It's getting too lax.
Exactly.
I think that's the connection between the one in basketball and what I'm bringing up in football. I'll give you another one in football. It's gotten very lax. We now have not only the yellow line that tells us where the first down is, right? And it came in right about the time you came into the NFL. Like when we were growing up, you just had to look at at the sticks, right, and figured, did he get the first down? I don't know. Now, that line is very accurate. We know that. They also now put the blue line in where the ball is at the line of scrimmage. How many times do you see a defensive lineman, his whole hand is over the blue line? He's in the neutral zone.
I don't understand
They
why.
never call that. I'm like, what are you
very seldom
doing?
are they going to call it. You know, now if he gets a jump on the ball, then they more than likely will call. They call more offside calls than they call false starts or delay of game calls. It seems. That's the way it seems. But even with that, I don't know why, with all of this technology that the NFL has, and all sports do, and it's great because we get to see from different vantages how it looks from the quarterback eyes, how it looks when they reach for the pylon. You know, they got the pylon cam, and you can see if the guys, you know, get the ball over. Why haven't they figured out? Then they tracking players. You know, has he played too much? His heart rate is up. His heart rate is down. Is he overheated? They got all of these things to track everybody on the field except the football. Why isn't there a chip in the football? Because you get to a point where, I don't know, I can't see him. You know, I don't know if he got the first down. Upon further review, we can't tell if he got the first down. So, fourth down, well, if you put a chip in the ball, it should be easy, right?
I would think so. That would probably help a lot.
Exactly. So why haven't they done that? Maybe that's coming. I don't know. But if you're tracking everything else
would it
on
affect
the
the
football,
flight of the ball? Like when a quarterback throws it, there's a chip in there. Can they make the chip so light that it doesn't throw the weight of the ball off?
Absolutely. They could.
Okay.
They could do that.
Because I do know this in hockey, and I think they have corrected that. But there was one time they put chips in the puck.
Okay.
So you could track the puck and how fast it was going. Did it go over the line and stuff like that? And the pucks were kind of messed up because of it. I think they've modified it and it's better now. I think
exactly.
that's
So if they've made it better, I'm sure the NFL can at least roll out a pilot for like training camps.
Yeah.
How do
USFL would be good.
USFL, stuff like that. And then if it's working properly, implementing it into NFL games.
That'd be
cool.
cool.
You know, so we're just spitballing here.
Yeah.
So.
But I do think the overall thing of call the rule if you set the standard that, look, your hand better not be in that neutral zone or we're going to call it. They'll stop. Players will stop. But if they're never going to call it, or just the same thing with the guy going over the line or the play clock hitting 0, they're going to test it. It's going to or the tackle starting a little bit early and he's getting a little leeway because the edge rusher's coming in. You give them an inch, they take a mile.
Yeah,
right.
And that's what they have been. It seems like that's what
they
they
need
have
to crack
been doing
down on some of this stuff
in the playoffs, whether it's offensive linemen getting off the ball a little bit too early, or that clock winding down to 0, and then after it goes to 0, then the ball is hyped. Sometimes it's like almost a second, if not a second after it hits 0.
Ridiculous.
And then they say, well, I look up at the clock, I look down at the ball. You should be able to look at the clock and see at the same time if they hike the ball or not.
Nothing else in sports is like that.
No.
When the clock hits 0, it's over.
Exactly.
The buzzer sounds.
If the ball is not off the ground,
yes.
If it's not high,
delay
it's either
a game. At 0 or it's not.
Yeah.
To me, I don't
it's
know why
either
they
delay
have
a game or it's not.
It's not right. It doesn't line up with sports, that rule. All right. Before we get out of here, I noticed we got a picture from the man.
Yes.
Nick Keyser.
From the suit. Well,
I'm not
it was
sure.
Given.
It wasn't given? Okay.
Well, the suit sent it, I think. Yeah.
So, Nick, can we confirm this? You have been awarded.
Yes, I see.
Rookie of the Year.
Yes.
Producer.
Yes, I can confirm that I have been named Rookie of the Year.
I
it
have
is
seen
sitting in front of
photographic
me.
evidence.
Indeed, you are correct.
Okay, the votes are in. This is awesome. Congratulations, Nick. So now from here on out, he is no longer the rookie. He is now reporter, Nick Keyser.
Who was Rookie of the Year.
A former Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, former Rookie of the Year.
And that makes him forever Rookie
exactly.
of the Year.
Absolutely.
That's right.
There we go.
Nick, good stuff. Good stuff. Congrats.
Appreciate it, guys. Glad to be here. Had fun with y'all. It's been a good first year. Appreciate it.
All right. Max Hurst has the coverage starting at 6 o'clock tonight, Predators and Devils. We pass the baton to Stillman and Company. Stay tuned. This is 102.5 The Game.
Peace.